Tomorrow morning, perhaps. All right, thanks, Lee.
Care.
Have a great day. It is a new week. It's Monday. It's the 9 till noon show at 9 o'clock. It's over to Donald Kavanagh for a news update.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. The DUP is being told that if it won't nominate a Deputy First Minister at the Stormont Assembly, it should go into opposition. Northern Secretary Brandon Lewis will hold talks with the North's political parties later today, urging them to restore power sharing quickly. However, the DUP has refused to say if it will nominate a Deputy First Minister after Sinn Féin became the largest party, winning 27 seats, 2 more than the DUP. Alliance MLA Kelly Armstrong says if the DUP doesn't want to share power with Sinn Féin, then it does have another option.
They shouldn't then hold the country to, a standstill, leave us in this limbo without having a government. So if they don't want to go in, don't have the respect of the democratic process. They've been in government with Sinn Féin before. It's a joint ministry, First Minister and Deputy First Minister. If they can't thole the fact that there'll be a Sinn Féin First Minister, then they have the opportunity to go into opposition and hold the government to account.
The PRO of the Micah Action Group says Taoiseach Leo Varadkar has now been fully briefed on the needs of Micah campaigners in Donegal. During a visit to the county on Friday, Mr Varadkar visited a Micah-affected home and met with a number of homeowners. Campaigners gave him a 2-page document outlining the need for 100% redress, as well as calling for a public inquiry into what happened. Micah Action Group PRO Michael Doherty says the message to the Taoiseach was very clear.
What he can't say is that he's now not aware. He'll never be able to say that again. There is no reason for him not to go down the road with a full and complete picture direct from the homeowners here of what's required, and then it's up to himself and his own conscience and to make sure that he's got the rest of the cabinet lined up there to make the right calls and get this scheme right this time. They've had a go already on the 90-10 scheme, which was a 60-40. Right this time is what we're demanding, because we can't put homeowners through another cycle of this again.
The fire service in Derry dealt with a major blaze in the grounds of a former hospital building in Gransha last night. Residents were urged to keep doors and windows closed because of the fear of fumes from hazardous materials. Over 30 firefighters tackled the blaze, with a number still on the scene this morning. And last month registered the highest ever proportion of wind-generated power in Ireland. Figures show wind energy provided 32% of the country's electricity in April 2022, up 7% on last year's figure. Wind Energy Ireland says the volume of wind helped push down the average wholesale price of electricity, but there was still an increase of 155% on last year. Wind Energy Ireland's CEO is Noel Cunniff.
We need to reform our planning system, and we need to ensure that it's properly resourced so that renewable energy projects, both onshore and offshore wind, can get through the planning system so that they can be assessed properly but quickly, and they can be examined and then move forward to get these projects built to help make Ireland more energy independent and to keep more money in our pockets.
Rain moving eastwards across the region this morning and again this afternoon, gradually clearing to scattered showers and sunny intervals from the west. Heavy showers possible, particularly this evening. It'll be breezy today with moderate to fresh and gusty southerly winds, increasing strong at times in highest temperatures of 14 or 15 degrees Celsius. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 10 o'clock.
COVID-19 can still cause serious illness, especially in people at higher risk. We need to keep protecting each other. So stay home if you have symptoms. Wear a mask in healthcare settings, public transport, and busy places. Let fresh air in if you're meeting indoors. Keep hands clean. And get a COVID-19 vaccine and booster. Let's keep looking out for each other. From the HSE, for us all.
The 9 till noon show with the City of Derry Airport, Algarve and Majorca summer holidays from the City of Derry Airport. Free childcare places available for ages 2 to 11. Visit cityofderryairport.com.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning, and you're very welcome along to Monday's 9 till noon show. It is the 9th of May 2022. It's 4 minutes past 9. And you're very welcome along to the programme. What do you want to talk about today? The lines are open for you. You can WhatsApp and text us on 08660 25,000. Of course, we're going to be discussing the fallout from the Northern Ireland elections, that and so much more besides. Your calls are into us on 07491 25,000 and interact with us on social media, please. If you want to watch the programme, hop on to our website, highlandradio.com, And you can watch in browser there or go straight to Highland Radio Ireland on YouTube and our Facebook pages. But it's good to have you on board, whichever way you choose to join us. And most of you, and we're delighted to have you listening to us through the good old-fashioned wireless. Okay, on to the newspapers for this morning, starting with the Derry People Donegal News. And a huge turnout right across Donegal, right across the country, in fact, for Darkness into Light. And it was lovely to see so many people gathering together as we woke up on Saturday morning, those of us who didn't take part, to see the wonderful pictures. Well, thousands of people across Donegal were up and out early on Saturday to take part in this year's Darkness into Light. 13 walks were organised county-wide. In Letterkenny, in the region of 800 walkers and runners turned out, surpassing the expectations of organisers. Yesterday, Chair of the Letterkenny Darkness into Light Committee, Karen Quinn, paid tribute to all those who took part. She said it was humbling to see so many give up their time and energy in support of Pieter House. On to the Derry News now, and their headline, it's As You Were in Derry. All 5 outgoing Derry MLAs have been returned to Stormont in what proved to be an historic Assembly election. With Sinn Féin topping the poll with 27 seats, 2 ahead of the DUP. Michelle O'Neill is in line to be the first ever nationalist First Minister. However, her taking up the role depends on the DUP putting forward a Deputy First Minister to date. They have not given any indication that they will do so, and it doesn't seem likely that they will anytime soon. And of course you will know, and there's analysis in the paper, in Derry, the upheaval within Sinn Féin last year did not affect the performance of the party's outgoing MLAs. Padraig Delargy and Ciara Ferguson. Mr Delargy topped the poll and was elected on the first count. The SDLP's Mochéad Durkin was also elected on the first count in the full constituency and has been joined by party colleague Sinead McLaughlin. So what's your views on the outcome of those elections and what it might mean? Get them into us from the north, of course, or outside the Republic. 00353 7491 25,000. Now on to the Irish Times, and continuing with that story, work will begin this morning to form a power-sharing government in the north following an Assembly election which returned Sinn Féin as the largest party. The Northern Secretary, Brandon Lewis, is due to meet the leaders of the main Stormont parties later today and will also speak to the Minister for Foreign Affairs, Simon Coveney. The Irish, British and US governments have urged the North's political parties to re-establish a functioning executive as soon as is possible. Northern Ireland has been without a First and Deputy First Minister since February's resignation of then First Minister, the DUP's Paul Givan, as part of the party's protest over the Northern Ireland Protocol, which it opposes, and it says it ran opposing that. It fared reasonable. It lost a couple of seats, but they say that is their mandate now and that they will not effectively go into government until such time as the protocol is removed. But in reality, is that what the people of the North voted for? I've been sensing, we all have been sensing for a while, a move away from the green and orange politics as it's been described, and I think the performance of the Alliance Party has proven that there is an appetite for that. That being said, it was mostly the likes of the Unionist parties and the SDLP that incurred the losses that gave the Alliance its boost. All right, today's a big day in terms of us finding out Russia, and when I say Russia, Vladimir Russia's intentions in Ukraine, because today is a huge day. It always is annually. It's celebrated Victory Day, isn't it? Freedom Day. But there is this concern that Vladimir Putin will use it to garner more support or to harden support in Russia for his activities in Ukraine. And the world does not really know what he's going to say. He's in a sticky position in Ukraine because whichever way it turns at this moment, it's going to look like something of a defeat because he didn't achieve his early objectives and has had to revise them. But we don't know what his next plan is. And I think that's what we'll learn more about today. And there is some great concern that he might just use this to actually officially declare a war in Ukraine, or who's to say where else he might go with it. And let's hope that those that are predicting that he'll use it as an opportunity to strengthen his intentions, that they're wrong. But anyway, we'll read in the Irish Independent, Russia's doomsday plane designed to protect Vladimir Putin in case of nuclear attack will today make its first appearance in a decade at Moscow's Victory Day parade. The plane known as the Flying Kremlin will take part in a flypast over Red Square. In a clear warning to the west, the giant aircraft will be accompanied by the Tu-96 Bear and the Tu-160 White Swan, which are capable of carrying nuclear warheads. The Doomsday plane has no external windows except in the cockpit, and a drone on the roof of the cockpit that supposedly prevents exposure to electromagnetic pulse attacks. Putin, who addressed the nation this morning, may choose to repeat his threats of a nuclear strike on the West if it escalates its support for Ukraine. Last month, the Russian president condemned weapons supplied to Kyiv, promising to use his entire arsenal lightning fast if red lines are crossed. But we all know what that means, don't we? Russia celebrates Victory Day today, a day after Britain and America, as Joseph Stalin demanded a separate letter of surrender from the Germans, which arrived a day later. It has long been one of the most revered days in the national calendar, commemorating the defeat of Nazism and the enormous loss of life sustained in the year. And of course, you will know that Vladimir Putin is using the line that he's trying to rid Ukraine of Nazism to justify his invasion of Ukraine. So I presume all of that will be tied in his address this morning. Fingers crossed it's maybe, and I'm being optimistic, he might use it as an opportunity to go in a more positive direction for the world. The Irish Daily Mail this morning, apparently shoppers can save up to $3,000 a year on grocery bills by choosing to buy own brand products in shops to help offset near record levels of inflation. Tell us your experience of using own brand items. Give us some examples. We do see them there. I mean, I'm not I'm not afraid to pick them up and use them. It can be hard sometimes to root them out. But you would avoid things like beans and stuff. But I don't mind like pasta and other own brand stuff. But what's your experience? Almost half of us already purchase and use own brand products already. But what's your views on them? What's the quality like versus the more famous brands? We read on here, with the average household now facing a €330 increase on their annual grocery bill. An analysis by the Irish Daily Mail found there are huge savings to be made by replacing some big name brands with supermarket own brand products. Across Dunnes Stores, Tesco and SuperValu, the savings are substantial, as $2,890 a year on a shop of 30 items, which would cost more than $5,000 annually if consumers opted for the better known brands. So tell us, what is your experience in that regard? OK, on to the Irish Daily Mirror now. And Irish fishing waters have effectively been stolen by the rest of the EU fishing fleet. Shock figures revealed last night. The country's fleet now faces annihilation and is almost also banned from fishing in any other European waters. Irish fishermen under the EU quota system are only allowed 15% of the total fish caught in our waters. 15%. But the secret Eurostats leaked from the Department of the Marine to industry Bible The Marine Times show the Dutch quota allowed them to catch 105,000 tonnes of five species here. France was allowed nearly 90,000 tonnes of 13 species inside Irish waters. Spain's boats were allowed to catch 40,000 tonnes of 7 species. All of these quotas are many times in excess of what the Irish fleet is allowed to catch in the Irish Sea and the Atlantic inside our exclusive 200-mile economic zone. But worse still, Norway, which is not a full EU member, Norway is not an EU member in full. It has quotas in our waters, in Irish waters, of 231,000 tonnes of blue whiting, plus 14 tonnes of blue ling and 13 tonnes of tusk. The quota table also reveals how Irish fishermen have no quota in French, Spanish, Dutch, German, Danish, Polish, Belgian, Latvian or Lithuanian waters. The figures were obtained by one of the country's top fishing experts, Dr. Kevin Flannery. And that, in the clearest terms that I've seen it so far, paints the picture as to where we are in this country, our fishermen and what they're facing, our fishers. OK, on to the Irish Sun now, and not an awful lot in the tabloids. I went through them a couple of times, and to be honest with you, I couldn't really find anything that jumped out. So I'll reference U2. They played a gig in Ukraine in a bomb shelter. U2 superstar Bono and The Edge held a surprise gig in a bomb shelter in Kyiv yesterday. The Dublin pair were joined on stage by Ukrainian soldiers as air raid sirens sounded outside. Bono praised their fight for freedom, saying, "We pray you will enjoy some peace soon." Indeed. And I think we could all concur with that sentiment. And last but not least, sad news from the world of entertainment in the Irish Daily Star. Many of you would have been familiar with Minder, that TV series, and others. Well, Telly Hardman, as it's described, Dennis Waterman, has died at 74 in his Spanish home with his fourth wife by his side. Tributes flooded in from TV fans and celebrities after the Minder and the Sweeney veterans family said he had passed away while watched over by his wife of 11 years, Pam Flint. A statement released by his loved one said, "We are deeply saddened to announce that our beloved Dennis passed away very peacefully at his home in Spain on Saturday morning with Pam by his side." Okay, that was a run through the newspapers this morning. Anything catch your ear? You have a view on any of that? 086 60 25,000. That is the WhatsApp or text line.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
The 9 till noon show with the City of Derry Airport, Algarve and Majorca summer holidays from the City of Derry Airport. Free childcare places available for ages 2 to 11. Visit cityofderryairport.com.
So you're struggling with your mobile connection?
Yes, I've tried everything.
Have you tried walking in a circle, standing on a chair, shouting instead of speaking?
This is ridiculous.
Best I can do for you, I'm afraid.
Let me be your hero. Fear not, Super Helpful Mobile has got you covered. With 99% coverage, staying connected has never been easier when you join Tesco Mobile. This is Supermarket Mobile. Tesco Mobile. Every little helps. 99% population coverage. Visit tescomobile.ie/service-information.
Ireland is leaving diesel behind, and Kelly's Toyota is leading the way with our incredible range of self-charging hybrid electric cars. We've amazing offers, including contributions and trade-in boosters. And with 46 years of experience here in Donegal, you can trust us to help you on your electric journey. You'll never take a wrong turn with Toyota, Ireland's best-selling car brand. Visit Kelly's Toyota Mount Charles or Letterkenny today. Toyota, built for a better world. Terms and conditions apply.
The hilarious Three Hail Marys is coming to Letterkenny.
God, he was beautiful. Big, brown, watery eyes on him, like an Aberdeen Angus bullock.
See Three Hail Marys at Ungrainon Theatre Letterkenny for one night only, Friday, May 13th. See ungrainon.com or call 074 9120777.
This Wednesday the 11th, Around the Northwest is live from the open day at Donegal ETB's newest further education and training centre on the Port Road, Letterkenny. The open day is a chance to call in and see the new centre, have a look at their state-of-the-art teaching and learning facilities, meet the staff and find out about the range of FET courses on offer. To find out more, listen in from 12 this Wednesday on Around the Northwest.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Greg was wondering whatever happened with the drink spike cases around in a show, and if the case has been resolved, are guards still investigating? I presume they are. We don't really get notifications as to whether, the progress on any individual victim's complaint is. Another one, hello, I was just wondering if you had any advice on how to change your GP. I have constant bother with my doctor between inquiries about myself and my children. He's always quite horrible, even with the littlest of things, so much so he had me in tears after a phone call this morning. Okay, I'm sorry to hear that, but I don't know what the procedure is for switching GPs either. Rightio, we are going to continue our coverage now of the events in Northern Ireland. The Northern Ireland election results are in. All 90 MLAs have been elected. We'll get some analysis from Pat McCart in the not-too-distant future and others, but we'll start with Senator Niall Blaney, a spokesperson for Northern Ireland and a member of the Good Friday Agreement Committee, a spokesperson for Fianna Fáil on Northern Ireland. Your takeaways from these results, Senator?
Yeah, well, I suppose they were pretty much along the lines that the polls were showing for, I suppose, 10 days out. Greg, the SDLP didn't do too well on the East Coast. They held fairly well on the western side. Sinn Féin's vote increased. They held their seats, and the DUP didn't have the meltdown that everybody expected. But the TUV damaged them sufficiently that they're now in second place, and Michelle Neal will now take up the First Minister. But I suppose the big surprise was the alliance and the massive increase in seats from their perspective, from going from 8 to 17, was quite the victory. But all that said, they're in third place, and it'll be interesting to see what weight they have now when it comes to divvying up the ministerial positions if they get to that position. But I suppose first and foremost, Brandon Lewis is there today, and negotiations are going to be kicking off in relation to the protocol, and all eyes will be on that.
What is the position? We don't know exactly what Britain's intentions are as it relates to the protocol, but the DUP want it removed altogether.
They do, and I suppose they recognise that they lost their vote to the TUV, who were very much all out to get rid of the protocol at all costs. That said, there was a council election in the UK as well, and Boris Johnson's party got a fair cleaning out across the board, Scotland, England and Wales. So I would think that at this stage, Boris is staring down the gauntlet at the next general election. They don't need Brexit to be hanging around. There's too many local issues they need to be dealing with. Brexit has been hanging over their heads for too long. I would imagine that Brandon Lewis is coming more focused now, and I'd hope he'd be more focused with a view to resolving the protocol. I believe the will is there, but the will has never been there to sit down and negotiate.
But the democratic will of the people of Northern Ireland surely at this point has to be respected, because if you take it in the round, the majority wanted to stay within the EU, and the majority are okay with the protocol. I mean, democracy has to be respected at some point.
Oh, I absolutely agree with you, and that always should be the way, but it hasn't been the case all the way through this Brexit process, and that has been demonstrated time and time again, and particularly in relation to the British government. But as I say, I believe it's in their interest to knuckle down now and get an agreement in whatever shape or form. And it's really important from our own perspective. Like, my whole interest in Northern Ireland is particularly from a Donegal perspective, how we're cut off. Getting an executive up is really important for us now. For the likes of the A5, which is coming near the judicial review process, it's really important that we have an executive and a minister in place now. The All-Ireland Rail Review that took place, and I was sorry to see Nicola Mallon go, because she put so much emphasis into that with such close relationship with her in relation to it, and she put her 2 feet into it. She put particular emphasis in the Northwest. That review had 40% of the All-Ireland correspondence that came in relation to the All-Ireland Rail Review. 40% of those that contributed to that were from the Northwest. So it's really important for those projects now that we do get an executive and we do get Stormont working again.
Yeah, okay. So stay there. Senator Niall Blaney. Pat McCart joins us now, former editor of the Diary Journal, and we heard from Pat ahead of these elections. Anything surprise you, Pat? Good morning to you. Anything surprise you as it relates to the outcome?
I suppose the biggest thing, was the performance of Alliance Party. But it was basically, Greg, the one thing that is significant. For the first elections, I think, were held on the 24th of May, 1921. There was an 88% turnout, and the Unionists put up 40 candidates, and 40 got elected. The last election there, 3-4 days ago, for the first time ever, after 101 years, a nationalist party is now the top party. I think the founding fathers of unionism had the idea that the unionism would be in control in perpetuity. So the significance of the results that came through Friday and Saturday is that at times they really are changing.
So from a DUP perspective, obviously there are two things here. Either they believe that the people of Northern Ireland voted on one issue, and that was the protocol, and they can't go into government because that would be backing down on an election promise. Or people don't want their message, and they held on to a certain level of their hardcore voters, but the rest went elsewhere. It depends which way you want to look at it, and I'm sure there's more options than the two I presented.
Yeah, Greg, I heard the end of Niall, but there I was couldn't get through for a while. But anyway, bottom line is the one of the guys I heard on yesterday in BBC, one of the newly elected DUP guys, he said the Secretary of State can either have the Assembly or the protocol, but not both. So I think the chances of getting Assembly up and running any time soon are very, very scarce. The unionists have Enda McClafferty, who's the BBC's political editor, made a very good point yesterday. He said that Jeffrey Donaldson has tied himself to the British Secretary of State doing something in regard to the protocol, which means he's basically a hostage to fortune because he's depending on somebody else to do something for him that he can't do himself. So and right now, the Secretary of State yesterday morning on the BBC Politics programme refused point blank to give any assurances in regard to the protocol. So where does that leave unionism?
Well, also, I mean, I presume the Secretary of State has to look at the room and see what the will of the people of Northern Ireland is as well.
Yeah, well, 56% of the people in Northern Ireland voted against Brexit. Plus the fact that if you add up all the votes for the parties on Thursday's election, Greg, most of them, if you take them, anybody that didn't vote the DUP or TUV is in favour of the protocol. Well, the biggest percentage of the votes went for pro-protocol parties.
Yeah, but the funny thing is that really I think, well, I don't know, but I suspect that the people of Northern Ireland are concerned about health, they're concerned about the cost of living, they're concerned about, all the stuff everybody is. And yet here we are post-election and it's protocol. Like, it must be very frustrating for voters. You know, they want the bread and butter stuff sorted.
Greg, the waiting lists, the hospital waiting lists in Northern Ireland are now worse than any other part of, quote, United Kingdom or any place in the Republic of Ireland. And as you know, our waiting lists aren't exactly healthy. So what's going on in the north? Plus the fact, Greg, there is a massive cost of living increase. We've had years of recession, followed by COVID, followed by a war in Ukraine. And if I think of the unionist parties, and I'm not being smart here, if they think that the British government's top priority or the EU's top priority is a protocol that they don't like, I think they're sadly mistaken. One of the problems I've heard several people in recent times say for the EU is they don't want to open up or renegotiate the protocol with the British government because they're scared that if once they do that, they will open up several other fronts for the British government and they'll want to renegotiate the whole thing, and that ain't going to happen. Yeah,
Noel Blaney, what is the latest, or Senator Blaney, what is the next step in terms of the EU and Britain and Northern Ireland, the UK as a whole? What is the next step in terms of talking about the protocol? Because things have pretty much stalled at this point, haven't they?
Yeah, I suppose that the EU has offered so many changes thus far, and every time they offer changes, Britain says it's not enough. It's really up to the British government to step up to the plate here and be meaningful, sit down and negotiate. And I would hope that we're at that point. I would think that Britain at this stage should see that they need to do that. And I heard you saying to Pat there about the position the DUP have themselves in. I was listening to Simon Coveney over the weekend talking about this, and obviously the protocol is not going to be renegotiated. But I suppose the mechanisms within, and what really could be a win for the DUP, what could be a win, and he alluded to, was some of those imports into Northern Ireland that are not moving beyond Northern Ireland could become items that don't need.
But that does not. But that does not remove what is effectively a border down the Irish Sea.
It doesn't. There's going to be no winners in this, but there's going to be some wins for the DUP. Whether it be enough, that'll depend on their mindset, what they intend doing. You know, we're coming towards the marching season as well. If they bury their heads in the sand, I don't see a good end to all of this. We could have a very bad result in a few months' time. Peace in Northern Ireland could take a very retrograde step, which nobody wants. It's really time for politicians to work on their mandate now and work on a solution-based approach.
Do you share that concern, Pat?
Absolutely. This was a fairly polarising election, Greg. And the other thing as well, I think we have to acknowledge is the fact that the unions are in a bad place. Basically, a lot of things are running against them. Can you imagine the psychological thing for a lot of unionists sitting fearing for the their culture, their identity, their politics, and everything else. And when they sat and watched, Greg, on Friday morning, about the first 5 or 6 results came in, Sinn Féin topped the poll every which way with huge majorities. 4 out of the 6 counties in the north are already Nationalist majorities. So it's not a great time to be a unionist. And, as Niall says, I think they have to give them a one somewhere along the way. The last thing you want to do is totally sort of feel that they have no... what is it, Nelson Mandela said? Always give your opponent some room for manoeuvre.
What is your view, Pat, on the fact that... well, not a fact, it's just a perception of that the idea of a border poll was not really... It wasn't part of the election campaign from anyone, as far as I could really determine. But very soon after the results were announced, it was pushed front and centre. Was there a tactic there, or what's your reading of that?
But you know the funny thing, Greg, there was somebody mentioned yesterday that on a I think it was last Wednesday night, Jeffrey Donaldson, there was an interview with somebody from Sinn Féin and Jeffrey Donaldson, and the Sinn Féin person never mentioned the border poll, and Jeffrey Donaldson mentioned it 6 times. That was quoted yesterday on one of the programmes. The DUP played up non-stop this thing about the border poll. Now, whether for strategic or tactical reasons, Sinn Féin parked the whole thing about the border poll in the run-up to the elections. They rarely have ever mentioned it. In fact, they concentrated on the waiting lists at hospitals, the cost of living, and various other things. And they made it a very bread and butter election. And the other thing as well, Greg, as far as I noticed on the way in, Sinn Féin played it very, very safe. They did absolutely nothing controversial. All their spokesmen did in every interview prior to the election was say, look, we're pointing out that the DUP are saying they will, and the official unionists are saying they will not answer the question, will they accept the Deputy First Minister's post? And the point being made there is, look, they won't accept that things are changing. And it was a very subtle but very clever strategy.
Senator Blaney, it seems, maybe it's easily to understand, I don't know, but just your views on it. Leo Varadkar was here on Friday and listening to your own party leader, some of his commentary. Not able to, it seems, to congratulate Sinn Féin on being the biggest party in Northern Ireland now. More wanting to maybe focus on the alliance or anything other than sort of saying, well, fair play to Sinn Féin on that result.
Well, I actually didn't hear Leo Varadkar's interview with you.
He was focused mostly on the alliance, really, and he said that he was wrong in saying that the nationalist vote overall would be down reasonably significantly. I think it might have been down marginally. I don't know. But anyway, what's your views?
I don't speak for him.
I just was giving you a synopsis of what he said.
Anybody who puts their head forward for an election deserves praise first and foremost, but Sinn Féin absolutely deserve praise for the campaign. They carried out a very smart campaign. They kept their heads down. They didn't walk into any trouble. Pat's right. They stayed away completely from the border poll issue. It was buried for the duration of the election. It's peeping up again now. But they done well, and maybe it does one's an election that has to be congratulated. Absolutely, and you'd be fool not to.
How do, and I'll ask both of you the same question, I'll start with you, Senator, how do people rightly recognise those that voted for the Alliance Party? Because we're still talking about the DUP and Sinn Féin and the DUP, but the biggest swing was towards the Alliance. They were moving away from sort of the green and orange politics. They want something different. How are their voices heard in Northern Ireland?
Yeah, well, it's a bit strange. I suppose the whole setup of Stormont, Greg. First and foremost, you still have the two main parties that were there in the last government. The two parties responsible for taking down the executive for quite long periods, and government didn't work. They now have a bigger mandate, so there's a responsibility on them to take on the responsibility and take it sharply. From the Alliance perspective, they're in third place, and they'll get their share of power and whatever ministers they get. I know from listening to Stephen Fry and others over the weekend, they have particular views in relation to the change of the makeup of power in Stormont that is out of date, that needs to recognise democracy of today and parliaments of today. So it'll be interesting to see how much say they have in relation to this, and if other parties are interested in changing the status quo and making, I suppose, the Parliament in Stormont change its ways, the representation change its ways, and I suppose those smaller parties having a bigger say in what goes on within those counties.
All right, listen, thanks for your time this morning. Same question to you, Pat.
I think, Greg, to get back to the original point I made, when the founding of the state, it was 100% almost unionism. When you see what happened on when the results were finished on Saturday, well, yes, actually one left until yesterday. The makeup has totally, totally changed. Alliance now, Greg, has a major role to play. But when you think about the fact that if you combine the Alliance and Sinn Féin votes, the message for unionism is one that there's a massive change going on out there. And I think, to follow on from Niall's point, I think they're going to have a look at there's what they call the mandatory coalition at Stormont. It looks like now that might have to change. Though that was part of the Good Friday Agreement. So how they're going to change that, I'm not quite sure. It'll take some negotiation. But basically, Greg, the bottom line is times have changed.
Okay, listen, thank you very much indeed for that. I appreciate it greatly. That's Pat McCart there, who is DUP MP. No, I beg your pardon, he's not. He's former editor of the Derry Journal. I can introduce DUP MP and spokesperson on international development, Gregory Campbell. Good morning, Gregory. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Greg.
The outcome of the election, not as bad as was predicted by some for your party.
No, that's right, Greg. I mean, I remember for many months now, there were all sorts of commentators and pundits and pollsters using the word. I mean, the word meltdown was used several times, and we were going to be, either obliterated or dramatically reduced, and all of those sorts of references. We have come back with 25 seats, and Sinn Féin have 27 seats. There was a difference of 1 the last time in our favour, and there's a difference of 2 in Sinn Féin's favour. So it is a change, but nothing like as dramatic as was predicted a few months ago.
What do you think the chances are now of getting the government up and running? Is it fair, really, that the people have had their say, a democratic election? We've seen how the cards have fallen. You, the DUP, have been supported in government for quite some time by Sinn Féin. Is it not time now to operate in the reverse and get on with the work of looking after, trying to sort out hospital waiting lists, the cost of living, and all the other problems that face Northern Irish people every day of the week?
Well, the short answer to your question is yes. If we had been First Minister position in terms of winning the election rather than in Deputy First Minister's position because we come second, our position would still be the same. We would still be saying there's a huge impediment to getting down to work to sort out those very, very important pressing issues that you've referred to in the question. And that big impediment is the protocol. So the protocol is the problem whether we were First Minister designate or Deputy First Minister designate. So there's a very simple, straightforward way to unlock the logjam. Sort the protocol.
And what do you mean by sort? Adjust it, remove it, which?
Get it replaced. If we go back to the basics of the protocol, we were told 2 or 3 years ago that the reason that a protocol was required was to prevent a hard border on the island of Ireland. I have now said on I don't know how many scores of occasions, and over the past while it has proven to be the case, because there are 300 crossing points on a 300-mile land border on the island of Ireland, there is no such possibility of a hard border.
Yes,
it couldn't be done.
But it doesn't necessarily have to be physically there, Gregory. It's the perception or the reality of it, the consequences of that.
But what would that mean? I mean, if you're talking about the perception or consequences,
because there's no real border down the Irish Sea either, is there?
Well, there is if you land at Stranraer and you're wanting to either bring over a pet or bring over some plants or bring over whatever it is you want to bring over, and you're bringing them to either Larne, Limavady, Londonderry, and you're told, oh no, we have to check that. And the answer is why?
Okay, do you believe there's any scope within the current protocol through negotiation that would please the DUP enough that it would return to government?
Well, there's 2 things have to be sorted that the protocol deliver for us. When I say deliver, I'm talking about the problems they deliver. The two things are the checks, when there are no need for the checks. So we have to sort that out, get those sorted, and get the checks removed.
And I'm sorry to cut across you, Gregory. Just for clarity, this proposal that perhaps items that would be only for Northern Ireland, that checks would be lifted on those items if they weren't to travel south of the border, would that be enough of a compromise there? Do you think? Is there room for compromise there?
It would certainly be a significant move in the right direction, but I don't know why they couldn't have done that 2 years ago. But yes, it would be, because that's the problem isn't moving goods from GB to ROI. The problem is moving goods from GB to NI. Why should that require checks? So if you can sort that, that's a good move. Then the other point, and this is a point that hasn't really been concentrated upon by others apart from us, is the constitutional implications. For example, if in the future, say we get the checks sorted and they're all removed, and that is good progress, and then we're no longer into the grace periods because we haven't seen the worst effects of the protocol because of all these grace periods, and then there's no requirements of grace periods because there's not going to be any checks, period. That's it, full stop. That's good progress. But then you have a constitutional question. So if then next year or the year after, we in the UK decide we want to do something slightly different to the EU, will the EU then say, well, now, because Northern Ireland, technically speaking, is still in the single market for goods in the EU, you can't do that, Mr. Johnson? Or
I get you. But is it not the case, though, that, most people in Northern Ireland wanting to stay within the EU, and most people in Northern Ireland didn't vote to have the protocol adjusted or removed? Like, at what point do you sort of say, right, we're not a single issue party. There are all the other issues that I mentioned. You look across Northern Ireland and see the will of the people, regardless of what their background may or may not be. And also the fact that, the DUP didn't make any gains. They were, in fact, losses. Like, is this the right strategy? I mean, is your party maybe going to say, maybe we've got this one wrong?
Well, you see, let's just turn the tables for a second. If we had a position in the sort of EU-UK negotiations, either about the protocol or anything else that directly affected Northern Ireland, does anybody anywhere seriously think for a moment that if the combined elected political representatives of the nationalist stroke Republican community were saying, look, if you do whatever it is you're thinking of doing, or in the case of the protocol have actually done, this is going to significantly adversely affect the people that we represent. And every single last one of them said it. Does anybody seriously think that the EU and the UK would say, well, I'm sorry, we're going to have to go ahead anyway? They wouldn't, because the structures that we now have, and the irony is that it was nationalism that was more in favour of those structures. The structures that we have now require cross-community consensus. Well, the same applies to the protocol, and there is no cross-community consensus for that.
Okay.
So let's get the two outstanding parts of the protocol that are the impediment to getting on with the real business.
Are you confident that
the roads and education all sorted?
Are you confident that the Johnson government won't end up shafting the DUP on this issue?
I'm not confident that they will do what they say they will do, but I'm more confident that they may be put in a position where they will have to.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed, Gregory Campbell. He is the DUP MP and spokesperson on international development. Pearse Doherty, Deputy Pearse Doherty, Deputy Leader of Sinn Féin and spokesperson on finance, joins us now. Good morning to you, Pearse. Thanks for taking the call.
Good morning.
Sorry for holding you there. I didn't actually really realise you were there when you were. Okay, what's your reaction to, I suppose, your party's performance in Northern Ireland? It was a low-key campaign. What was the strategy there, I wonder?
Well, look, I know people have said that it was a low-key campaign, and that may have been how it played out in terms of the media, but I can tell you, as somebody who was on the ground in different constituencies across the north, there was a huge vibrancy in the campaign. We've seen the level of turnout that came out. People wanted to exercise their vote. People were excited about what this election could bring about. And indeed, this election did bring it about. It brought a huge increase in the Sinn Féin support base. It has positioned Michelle O'Neill to be the First Minister of the North, and as your previous persons in the radio said earlier on, I think Pat mentioned it, about when the North was created, it was created with its borders for a unionist majority in perpetuity. Now, the unionist obviously community has lost that majority in a number of elections, but I don't think 100 years ago, when they were sitting down to decide which part would be partitioned and which wouldn't, that they would ever envisage that they would have a Republican First Minister, and that's what the election has thrown out. So look, Michelle O'Neill is in Stormont this morning along with our team of MLAs. We want to get down to business. We want to see the executive back up and running. The election was fought on the bread and butter issues. People know where all the parties stand on the medium to long term issues in terms of constitutional change, but there is an immediate issue here in terms of the cost of living crisis that needs to be addressed. There's money that's locked in the finance department that can't be released, over £330 million that we want to see in the pockets of ordinary families and workers across the north. There's £1 billion in health that needs to be invested over the next 3 years. These are the kind of decisions that people, and I would argue across the political divide, whether you were Republican, Nationalist, Unionist, whether you supported the Alliance, these are the issues that they want to see addressed.
What can be done to get a government in place because, there's an awful lot of people probably either don't want to know or are tired of listening about the ins and outs of Northern Ireland politics and probably just want to know is, look, what will it take to get a government in place to release those funds to improve our lives? And maybe those are the voters that move towards the Alliance, I don't know. But, there's, what can be done to actually make this happen?
Well, look, the DUP have backed themselves into a cul-de-sac. And they need to find a way out of that for all of the other political parties. And remember, the DUP is isolated in this here. And them and the TUV, which only have one member in the Assembly, have this position. All the other political parties want to get on with the work, want to get back to work, want to make the decisions, want the executive to meet. So the DUP needs to find a way out of this. They have hitched their wagon to Boris Johnson and Boris Johnson's government. They've created a precondition that has nothing to do with the Assembly. The Assembly has no control whatsoever over the protocol, the future of it, whether it will be changed for good, bad, or indifferent. It is nothing to do with the Assembly.
Yeah, but it is their bargaining chip, though, obviously.
But this will be resolved, it is to be resolved between Boris Johnson's government and between the European Union. And what we are hearing from the likes of Gregory Campbell on your show this morning and from other DUP representatives, and we started to hear this message as soon as the polling stations closed, was that there would be no executive until the protocol had gone. That was not said during the campaign. Indeed, they're fighting.
Yeah, but in fairness, all parties can be accused of similar. There was very little talk as part of the campaign as it relates to a border poll, and now the likes of Twitter and elsewhere is flooded by elected reps saying it's and your own party leader saying this will happen now within 10 years. I think both your party and the DUP maybe are talking about stuff post-election that they weren't talking about pre-election.
With respect, Greg, first of all, in our manifesto, in our literature, it is very clear that we favour a border poll. I don't think anybody listening to this radio, I don't think anybody in the DUP would be surprised to find out this morning that Sinn Féin wants to bring about a new Ireland and wants to trigger the mechanisms in the Good Friday Agreement in relation to a border poll to bring that about. I've been on your own station now for a couple of minutes.
Oh no, I'm not. I get you, but Pierce, just one question. So are you saying prior to that election, when you're strategizing, just in all honesty, that a decision wouldn't have been made to say, right, we're going to focus on more of the bread and butter issues and maybe not focus every interview on the prospect of a border poll or what that might say. Maybe people want to hear about the other day-to-day stuff that's occupying their lives. Are you saying a strategy wasn't employed by your party along those lines? If it's the case, no, that's fine. But are you saying that that's simply not the case?
The point is, Greg, that everybody knows, regardless of their political persuasion, that Sinn Féin favours a border poll.
I know that, but that wasn't the question, Pierce, with respect.
But let me finish. So therefore, we fought this issue. We fought this campaign on the bread and butter issues, the issues that the Assembly needs to deal with right now, right here, But of course we need to. The Assembly will also be an Assembly that can point to the type of change that is happening in the North, and that will, in my view, lead to more discussion in relation to the need to plan for a border poll. We're not arguing, we've never argued for a border poll immediately. What we're saying is look at what's happening in the North, look at the change that is taking place, and those who favour a united Ireland, those who favour the creation of a new nation, needs to start sitting down seriously and figuring out what that means, what it will look like, how identity will be cherished for those who don't favour that approach, how we will have economies that will be integrated, how we will have public services integrated. And that's why we've been saying to the Taoiseach for quite some time that we need to start the preparation work in relation to planning for a referendum.
Mm-hmm.
We want to see that referendum within 5 years. But this election wasn't about an election about a border poll.
No, I get that.
Election on the
But Fianna Fáil, the Taoiseach probably would argue they're already doing a lot of the groundwork with the Shared Ireland Initiative and what have you. That's just probably what he might say.
Completely separate issue.
Yeah.
But on top of the bread and butter issues, and just let me make this point because it shouldn't get lost, on top of the bread and butter issues, our political opponents, particularly in the unionist category, made the issue of the First Minister a major issue. And on the ground, it became a major issue for people who support Sinn Féin, particularly people, who were, and I spoke to some of these, who were on the civil rights marches demanding one man, one vote, people who were beaten off the streets at that time. And the prospect that glass ceiling in the North is completely and utterly shattered into smithereens. It was something that gave them hope that finally that they realised that equality was being inbuilt into the North, that there was nowhere that they could not go, or nobody that no position that nationalist or Republican could not be afraid to achieve. And I think that by Michelle O'Neill being First Minister designate has given a huge comfort, a huge courage to Republicans and nationalists. But I think anybody who believes in equality across the North, I think, needs to accept that this is a good day for democracy in relation to that.
All right, Deputy Pearse Doherty, as always, thank you very much indeed. He is the Deputy Leader of Sinn Féin too, and their spokesperson on finance. Some of your comments coming up after we take this quick break.
The 9 till noon show with City of Derry Airport. Pre-book your airport parking, fast track and lounge access at cityofderryairport.com for a stress-free start to your trip.
Since she got her free hearing aids with her PRSI at Specsavers, Roisin is a changed woman. Music has never sounded better, and that makes her dance. And dance. And dance. Her singing, though, well...
Free hearing aids with PRSI at Specsavers. Music to your ears. Find out more online. Terms and conditions apply.
Is your water safe to drink? If your water tastes unpleasant or has a foul smell, it may be a sign that something is in your water. Brothers Tech Donegal provide a complete private well water treatment service using the best water treatment equipment to meet your needs. Or maybe you drilled a new well and the water isn't satisfactory. At Brothers Tech, their expert team will also service existing problematic systems. If you're concerned about the quality of your water, call Brothers Tech on 087 638 7057.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware. With stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre, or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice, whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
Join me this Monday for the DL debate as we review another huge weekend of GA action. We'll have feedback and analysis from our senior ladies footballers, our senior hurlers and our minor and senior footballers. My guests will include GA correspondent and poet Jerry McLaughlin, former Derry footballer now assistant with Kilcoo Conley Gilligan, and our own Highland Radio pundit and assistant manager with Donegal Miners Brendan Kilcoyne. That's the DL debate just after 7pm news this Monday and podcasted on highlandradio.com.
The DL debate with Sister Sarah's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9pm daily in Sarah's Kitchen.
Brian McCormick, Sports and Leisure, Main Street, Letterkenny, your football destination store. If you belong on pitch, try a new pair of Adidas Predator Edge football boots, available in kids and adult sizes. Complete your kit with a pair of Murphy's gloves, available in many colours and sizes. Update your O'Neill shorts and socks with the all-important Gum Shield. Then you're ready to compete. Look the part, play the part. In-store, online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
Make this gardening season a lot easier with the great range of garden equipment at great prices in Watson Hire, Letterkenny. Lawnmowers, trimmers and hedge cutters, scarifiers, power washers and much more for sale and hire. A full range of fertilisers and weed killers, and great deals on paint and decorating accessories. All at Watson Hire, Kiltoy, Letterkenny. For more, see TikTok, Facebook or visit watsonhire.ie.
Sabrina Robb here from Donegal Hearing Clinic. If you're struggling to hear everyday conversations or find it difficult to understand people in a crowded room, you may have hearing loss. Problems like these are common and we're used to helping people resolve them. We offer hearing assessments and will discuss your options. You can call us on 074 91 88 470 or visit donegalhearingclinic.ie. Life sounds brilliant with Donegal Hearing Clinic, Letterkenny and Buncrana.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Get ready to hit the beach and soak up the sun by choosing flights to Alicante, Barcelona, Faro, Mallorca, Malaga and Milan this summer with Ryanair. Ireland West Airport, you're flying.
OK, rain will move eastwards this morning and afternoon, gradually clearing to scattered showers and sunny intervals from the west. Some heavy showers are possible, especially in the evening. Temperatures today, 14 to 15 degrees. A caller says, I don't think the same appetite is present for United Ireland as there was a few years ago. I don't think we can afford to absorb the NI population. We can't really afford to look after our own population at the moment, but of course with that would come income. And also, too, I think really we have to understand that, you know, when you live in the north of Ireland, and I don't mean Northern Ireland, if you know what I mean, when you live in the north of the country, you know, you have an understanding of it, you perhaps have a view on it, you have an opinion. I think when you broaden that conversation out to the island of Ireland, I just wonder really, has the conversation even really started in earnest, or much thought been put into it from people in, you know, the big population centres down south who might listen to an argument along the lines of the one from that texter. So nothing would be, if a vote was called, nothing would be a fait accompli. Ask him what's to stop the goods travelling south if they're not checked on the way into Northern Ireland. Well, they'd have to put something in place for that, wouldn't they? The reality is the politics of the North have totally changed, says another listener. The victory for Sinn Féin was inevitable. Unionism lacks leadership. The change is finally coming around, and Sinn Féin are the only ones who are going to instigate it in their view. But in fairness, like, the Sinn Féin didn't make gains as such to become the biggest party. It was losses elsewhere that contributed to that. Not that saying that matters one way or other, just to make that point. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael treat Sinn Féin with the same contempt and lack of respect as the DUP. Shame on you both. Can't wait for the next election, says a caller. Another, Boris Johnson signed up to the protocol to get Brexit through and all agreed. Another, I wish we could get the word protocol changed to another word. The word protocol, I can't stand to hear that word. I wonder if this word bothers anyone else. And two more before the break for the news. The first past-the-post system will suit Sinn Féin in the next general election in the UK. Then the fun will start. The union is in trouble, thank God they believe. And another, Great Britain will not jeopardise the Brexit agreement as indications in the UK economy that they could go on to recession. Yeah, indeed. And the warning of that could be coming up down the line. Right. OK, last break and then the news. Rejoin us afterwards. We've loads coming up in the next hour.
The 9 till noon show with the City of Derry Airport, Algarve and Majorca summer holidays from the City of Derry Airport. Free childcare places available for ages 2 to 11. Visit cityofderryairport.com.
By choosing Donegal Creamery's milk, you're supporting over 200 dairy farming families across Donegal in doing what they do best, producing delicious, fresh milk every day. For over 100 years, Donegal Creamery's milk has been brought to you daily from our dairy at Crossroads, Killygordon, the longest established creamery in the region. Support local farms, local families and local jobs by choosing Donegal Creamery's milk.
Getting married? Don't leave it too late. Book with us today at the Groom's Room in Evolve Clothing, Letterkenny Retail Park.
This time of year, we're all thinking about freshening up the paintwork in our homes, bringing colour and vibrancy to our living spaces. But the important thing isn't just the colours we choose, it's the paint. Fleetwood use the highest quality ingredients for a richer colour and smoother finish that lets you wipe away the marks of everyday life. And it's Irish made, designed to work with the ever-changing Irish light. Would one range of paints transform your home? Fleetwood would, naturally.
Is your car due a service? For the month of May, get your car serviced at iMotors Letterkenny and avail of a free vehicle health check and a free oil change. For more details, check out our website or Facebook. Call us today on 074 913 4567 to book in.
Terms and conditions apply.
When it comes to searching for a holiday, Atlantic Travel and Letterkenny deal with all the major tour operators from Dublin and Belfast to find you the best deals available. A week in the sun, a cruise, or maybe a short break. Whatever suits, you can book in confidence with Atlantic, knowing your holiday is protected should something go wrong. Take the hassle and worry out of your holiday booking with the award-winning Atlantic Travel, St Oliver Plunkett Road, Letterkenny. For a quote today, see Facebook, visit atlantictravel.ie or call 9126193.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. The DUP is being told if it won't nominate a Deputy First Minister at the Stormont Assembly, it should go into opposition. Northern Secretary Brandon Lewis will hold talks with the North's political parties today, urging them to restore power sharing quickly. However, the DUP have refused to say if it'll nominate a Deputy First Minister after Sinn Féin became the largest party in the North, winning 27 seats, 2 more than the Democratic Unionists. Alliance Party MLA Kelly Armstrong says if they don't want to share power with Sinn Féin, then the DUP has another option.
They shouldn't then hold the country to, a standstill, leave us in this limbo without having a government. So if they don't want to go in, don't have the respect of the democratic process. They've been in government with Sinn Féin before. It's a joint ministry, First Minister and Deputy First Minister. If they can't thole the fact that there'll be a Sinn Féin First Minister, then they have the opportunity to go into opposition and hold the government to account.
Meanwhile, on today's 9 till noon show, Senator Niall Blaney, the Fianna Fáil Seanad spokesperson on Northern Ireland, said a new executive is important for Donegal as a number of cross-border projects need to proceed. With that in mind, he paid tribute to the outgoing Infrastructure Minister Nicola Mallon, who lost her seat at the weekend.
Getting an executive up is really important for us now. For the likes of the A5, which is coming near the judicial review process, the All-Ireland Rail Review that took place, and I was sorry to see Nicola Mallon go, because she put so much emphasis into that. 40% of those that contributed to that were from the Northwest. So it's really important for those projects now that we do get an executive and we do get Stormont working again.
Well, the first ever meeting of the new EU-UK Parliamentary Partnership Assembly takes place this week in Brussels. The Assembly was established last year as part of the post-Brexit process with 35 members each from the European Parliament and the UK Parliament. Sinn Féin's Chris McManus is an MEP for Midlands North West and a member of the EU delegation. He says outstanding issues relating to Brexit and the Northern Ireland Protocol do need to be addressed.
Key things for me to be raising are issues post-Brexit, predominantly around the Irish Protocol and predominantly about ensuring that we find a way to make sure that the voices of the people in the north of Ireland who are now affected by directives and legislation that will be coming out of Brussels are being listened to.
The fire service in Derry dealt with a major fire in the grounds of a former hospital building in Granshall last night. Residents were urged to keep doors and windows closed because of the fear of fumes from hazardous materials. The fire was brought under control in the early hours of this morning. Over 30 firefighters tackled the blaze at its height. A number remain at the scene today. Russia's president has described Moscow's military action in Ukraine as a response to Western provocation. Vladimir Putin was speaking at a major military parade held each year on May 9th to mark victory over the Nazis in World War II. Putin urged his army toward victory in Ukraine during the parade of troops, tanks and rockets which took place in the centre of Moscow this morning.
The NATO alliance began to move their troops into our neighbouring territories, and they were creating an unacceptable threat to us right at our borders.
Last month saw the highest ever proportion of wind-generated power in Ireland. Figures show wind energy provided 32% of the country's electricity in April 2022, up 7% on last year. Wind Energy Ireland says the volume of wind helped push down the average wholesale price of electricity, but there was still an increase of 155% on the previous year, and that shows the need, they say, for more renewables. At present, Donegal County Council is consulting the public on proposed changes to the county development plan as it pertains to wind farms and their control. However, Wind Energy Ireland CEO Noel Cuniff says the planning process nationally should be easier and quicker.
We need to reform our planning system, and we need to ensure that it's properly resourced so that renewable energy projects, both onshore and offshore wind, can get through the planning system so that they can be assessed properly but quickly, and they can be examined and then move forward to get these projects built to help make Ireland more energy independent and to keep more money in our pockets.
Looking at the weather forecast, and Met Éireann tell us that rain will move eastwards this morning and afternoon, gradually clearing to scattered showers and sunny intervals from the west. Some hazy showers possible, particularly in the evening. Breezy with moderate to fresh and gusty southerly winds, increasing strong at times. Highest temperatures today 14 to 15 or 16 degrees Celsius. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines again at 11 o'clock. The obituary notices for this Monday morning, the 9th of May. The death has taken place of David Cummings, Ballymore, Dunfanaghy, formerly of Kent, England. His remains are reposing at his late residence, which is strictly private pleas at the request of the deceased. Funeral Mass in St Michael's Church, Creasla on Wednesday at 12 noon, followed by burial in Doe Cemetery. Mass can be viewed live on mcnmedia.tv. Family flowers only please, donations if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or James Harkin, funeral director. The death has taken place of Helen Beattie, name McClintock, Craigs Road, Rafo. Funeral from her residence this afternoon at 1:30 for service in St Eunan's Cathedral, Rafo for 2 o'clock. Burial afterwards in the family plot in the local churchyard. Family flowers only please, donations if desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of any family member or Gibson funeral directors. The death has taken place of Frankie Brennan, Magumna Ardra, formerly of Main Street, Ardra. His remains will repose at his home from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. today. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 11:30 to the Church of the Holy Family, Ardra, for Requiem Mass at 12 noon, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Family time please before the funeral tomorrow. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu if desired to the Killybegs Patients Comfort Fund, care of any family member. The death has taken place of Tony O'Brien, Drumahal, Manor Cunningham. Removal from Eternal Light Chapel of Rest, Mountain Top, Letterkenny this evening at 7 o'clock, going to his residence, which is strictly private please. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 11:15 to St Columbus Church, Drumahal for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, followed by interment in the adjoining churchyard. Family flowers only please. The death has taken place of Lily Arrow, Malin Road, Moville. Lily's remains are reposing at her late home. Removal from there tomorrow morning at 10:30 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Pius X Church, Moville, followed by burial in Ballybrack Cemetery. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu if desired to the Carndonagh Community Hospital, care of any family member. House private please from 9 o'clock tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. The death has occurred of Siobhan McGranahan, New Line Road, Letterkenny. Funeral this morning with 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Eunan's Cathedral, followed by interment in Conwall Cemetery. Mass can be viewed at churchservices.tv. Family flowers only please, donations if wished to the Donegal Hospice, care of Pascal Blake, funeral director. And the death has taken place of Micheál O'Gallagher, Mickey Mary Vicky, Ranafast. Funeral this morning with 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in Star of the Sea Church, Annagry, followed by burial in the new graveyard. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Flowgas now offer 100% green electricity. It feels good to know that as I cut my grass here, the power's coming from 100% renewable sources. Also, good to know that Flowgas plant 1 tree for every person that makes the switch. And the cherry on top, you can get a welcome bonus worth up to €220. I put the savings towards this fancy new electrical lawnmower.
Hey, how's she cutting?
Not bad. Not bad at all. The grass is definitely greener with Flowgas. See for yourself.
Terms and conditions apply. Switch to Flowgas at flowgas.ie to view our great range of offers or call us on 1800 200 052.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, so we heard, or read, should I say, in the newspapers this morning that people could save up to €3,000 per year if they switch to own brand products. So we put out the question there, what's your experience been of buying and using them? This caller says Tesco crisps, Tesco gold grain biscuits, the tea, juice, toilet rolls, yogurts, ham, milk, tin soup and hand towels. The list is endless, all good in quality, and the price is very good as well, they say. Another, I've worked in retail for over 30 years. There is a massive stigma surrounding buying generic products in the likes of Centra or Spar because they are premium stores. The same stigma simply does not exist in Lidl or in Aldi. Is that true? I don't doubt it for a second that certainly for some it is the case. But is there a stigma? Would you be... I don't know if you went into one of these stores and filled your basket with own brand stuff, because often, I don't know if it's changed much, but, the packaging can be a letdown, even though the packaging is the same as every other packaging. Maybe some of the design, I don't know. Would you be afraid of being judged if you rolled up to the till with a basket full of own brand stuff, if it was easy to distinguish it from the main? I presume all of this stuff's made in the same factories. It's just the packaging, isn't it? Hi Greg, I just wonder if you could highlight this for me. I was walking my children to school a morning last week, and the entrance to the Beechwood Grove convoy is covered with dog poo. Whoever is leaving this behind, please clean up after your dog. I had to put my children's life in danger by having to put them out on a busy road to get to school in the morning. It's a disgrace. The mess left behind the entrance to the Beechwood Grove convoy. Thank you, Greg. Anyone else got a view on that? 08660 25,000. Right, a caller says, doesn't make much sense to me that we are told by the media how dangerous it is in Ukraine, people fearing for their lives, and then Bono turns up there and does a concert. Why is he not afraid to be there? Well, in fairness, Kyiv is in the west of the country, and other than occasional missile strikes, and by Russians' own testimony, they aren't really targeting it at the moment, and it's one person after another. Most EU leaders or their reps have been to Kyiv, and other celebrities, and then Bono rolls up and does his bit with Edge in the bomb shelter. The DUP in the north, same as Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael parties in the south, believes this texter. Another, typical pushing industrial wind turbines and the Wind Energy Ireland's propaganda. 99% of energy in Ireland was produced by fossil fuels for the past week, as there was no wind. Spare us the lies, please. I don't know what lies you're going at or referring to. Sometimes, and I've highlighted this on the programme a number of occasions, it's no news to me anyway, that sometimes when it's windy, most of our electricity comes from wind turbines, and we could probably use more of that if we could store it properly. And then when the wind dries, we're in bother, or when the wind dies, we're in bother, because that percentage falls down drastically. And then, as others have pointed out, the statistics that I quote in that regard don't tell the full picture. It's complicated. Hi Greg, so disappointed that our family of 5 could not afford to take part in the Darkness into Light at the weekend. We just could not afford the €26 each. Why do the organisers not bring the charge down to at least 15, so as those of us who really want to take part can afford to do so? I wasn't aware of really how that is structured, in terms of if you don't pay the minimum you can't take part. Is that really the way it is? It's not something I'd be terribly comfortable with. But there's plenty I'm not terribly comfortable with, I suppose you could say. 08660 25,000 if you've an input into that. 08660 25,000, or call 074 91 25,000. Our next guest joins us in a mo.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Monday the 9th of May. You're playing on the green sheet. The reference number is S11. It's game number 19. The numbers are 34, 25, 40, 2, 39, 71, 9, 7, 6, and finally 23. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with City of Derry Airport. Pre-book your airport parking, fast track and lounge access at cityofderryairport.com for a stress-free start to your trip.
By choosing Donegal Creamery's milk, you're supporting over 200 dairy farming families across Donegal in doing what they do best, producing delicious, fresh milk every day. For over 100 years, Donegal Creamery's milk has been brought to you daily from our dairy at Crossroads, Killygordon, the longest established creamery in the region. Support local farms, local families and local jobs by choosing Donegal Creamery's milk.
We're all faced with things going up these days, but you'll still find amazing value every single day at Aldi. And you could save over €70 on your big family shop when compared to one of our nearest competitors. Nearest and dearest indeed. So don't change your lifestyle, change your supermarket. Aldi, every day amazing. Comparisons against products sourced in SuperValue 28th of March 22. Lowest pro rate used and offers excluded. For full details, see aldi.ie.
It's time to hit the switch on your energy supply. Make the switch to SSE Airtricity right now, and not only will you be joining Ireland's largest green energy provider, you'll also save 33% on electricity and gas. Yes, 33%. Go to sscairtricity.com today and get your 33% discount exclusively online. SSE Airtricity. This is Generation Green. EAB €2,168.23. Offer online only from the 10th of the 1st, 22. Rates valid from the 1st of the 5th, 22. Subject to change. 1 year standard unit rate for new home gas and electricity customers and direct debit and e-bill. For details of EAB, T's and C's, rates, exit fee, standing charge and green energy claims, see sscairtricity.com.
All right, you're welcome back to the programme. We welcome on to it now Fianna Fáil Senator Malcolm Byrne. Good morning, Senator.
Good morning, Greg, and good morning to your listeners.
It's good to have you with us. Right now, you have expressed your concern, I think would be an appropriate word, as to Ireland's ability to defend itself. What are your concerns?
Well, I think it's fair to say that the report of the Commission on the Future of the Defence Forces has set out pretty starkly what Ireland needs to do in order to be able to defend ourselves against attack in the future. And a lot of people will sort of say, well, look, how likely is it that Ireland is going to be attacked? We're a militarily neutral country. But the warfare of the future that we're going to see, it's not at all going to be about boots on the ground. What we are going to see is air incursions and sea incursions, which we have seen up the Irish coast, and increasingly cyber attacks. And we would have seen in Ireland last year the biggest ever cyber attack on a health service anywhere in the world. That was, for all intents and purposes, a terrorist attack. It did mean major disruption to our health service. At the height of it, up to 70,000 appointments had to be either cancelled or postponed. And that, that had a huge financial cost. We know in terms of a direct cost on the IT system, that's already run to over €50 million. But the cost to individuals and their families as a result of delayed appointments, that's incalculable. We know that the number of cyber attacks on businesses, on private organisations, and indeed on state organisations continues to increase. And this is something that we have to be prepared for.
There's kind of two things though in that, because one makes an awful lot of sense. Let's throw money at protecting ourselves from a cyber attack. We need that. I don't know if that's the function of the army or whatever. I think a lot of people get that, but in reality, from where we're at, what kind of investment would be required for us to put up any meaningful defence of our airspace or our sea space?
Well, At the moment, if there is an incursion into our airspace, and we have seen in recent years Russian aircraft come into Irish airspace without permission, we effectively rely on the Royal Air Force. If there is a problem, we have inadequate radar as well to be able to detect everything coming in and out of the country. That's not just a problem, by the way, where you're talking about other countries sending aircraft unlawfully into our airspace, but that's an issue where if somebody is looking to smuggle something into the country because we have inadequate radar, they can, in theory, avoid. And if we're serious about kind of protecting our sovereignty, then we have to be in a position to defend it. We currently spend just over €1 billion on defence. I'm glad to see that the issue of properly paying our soldiers and members of the Defence Forces is starting to be addressed. But there is that broader question around, how do we deal with the situation where, we have aircraft unlawfully coming into our airspace, or where we have ships coming into our maritime space, which included, what we would have seen with the Russian fleet coming off the southwest coast in recent years, or indeed addressing that question of cyber security. And when we talk about, as I said, we're spending about $1 billion. There is, the Minister for Defence, Simon Coveney, has indicated that he's going to look at spending, in the medium term, something of the order of an additional $500 million. If we compare ourselves, for instance, to a similar non-aligned country of about the same size, so if we look at Finland, which has a population of about 5.5 million people, it currently spends something of the order of €2.8 million on defence. And recently, obviously, because it was concerns after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, it's announced that it's going to spend a further $2 billion in addition to that $2.8 billion every year on defence. And people wonder why we have to do that, but the reality is that if our country is attacked, and it's not going to be boots marching over a border, it's going to be through cyber attacks, or if you talk about a hostile fleet off our southwest coast. I mean, the big concern that a lot of people in the security services would have had about the Russian fleet off the southwest coast was obviously the impact on the environment, but also the transatlantic cables. And if there was any interference with those transatlantic cables, that has...
But in reality, is it our job to defend that, though? I mean, you would be well aware of the crisis facing this country in all manner of ways. Really, buying airplanes and paying people to fly them, getting more boats and paying people to fly them. I mean, our Irish fleet effectively is just making sure that the scrapes, that we don't catch more of the scraps off the table from that the EU have allowed us to fish in our own waters. That's really what they're doing at the moment. Like, do we really need to be spending money in this way and maybe even position ourselves outside of appearing military neutral? Like, when there's so many other things this money really needs to be spent on.
I entirely accept, Greg, that and for government it's difficult. There are a lot of competing priorities. But we saw what happens when we didn't have adequate cyber defences when there was an attack on the HSE.
Yeah, I get that, but I think, again, just to point out, Senator, I think people would see the maybe if we increased our air and sea defences, that's feeding into maybe having a bigger role in NATO or part of an EU army, or even maybe edging our way to a vote on.
Let's say that this idea of an EU army is a nonsense. Every country within the European Union determines where its defence forces, and there's very clear rules around where Irish defence forces are engaged. We should be very proud of our role in peacekeeping. I certainly think that there is scope for more cooperation with the fellow non-aligned EU member states. So the other EU member states who are neutral, Finland, Sweden, Austria, we should work closely with them and learn from their experiences. I'm certainly not in favour of us joining NATO. But if our national sovereignty means anything, we have to be in a position to be able to defend that. And that means that if somebody unlawfully comes into our airspace or into a marine space. We have to be able to deal with that. And most importantly, if we face a cyber attack, that we are in a position to be able to defend ourselves. Like, it was estimated that last year that the cost of cybercrime to both the state and business organisations in Ireland was of the order of €10 billion. So this ranged from everything from phishing expeditions on, people who responded to dodgy emails or so on, people who hacked into systems, where you also saw cyber attacks where data was taken from organisations. That is a very significant cost. And the implications, and I'm quite certain Highland Radio, if you talk to whoever's responsible for your IT, they will tell you how much they are spending, even just within your own radio station, to be able to prevent, outside attacks.
All right.
And we as a state have to be able to do that and take it seriously.
All right. Listen, thanks for your time this morning. I appreciate it. Senator Malcolm Byrne there says Ireland not able to defend its airspace, seas or cyberspace in the event of attack. And he wants more money to be spent in that regard. 086 60 25,000. A caller says, if anything were to happen here, do we have any backup from the UK at all? Well, we have a common sort of European defence. I wouldn't rely on England. Let's not forget that Britain committed to defend Ukraine as part of its agreement to give up its nuclear weapons, and not much happened in that regard, other than reluctantly supplying some equipment. We were heard early on in the programme from a person who was very upset with their doctor, doesn't like how they speak to them, and was reduced to tears this morning in a conversation. Well, this caller says that doctor should be reported to the medical board rather than looking to switch GPs. Just don't let it lie like that. Greg, I did the Darkness into Light, but I didn't register or pay the €26. I just made a donation to the charity. I too believe that €26 is just too much. We did, as a family of 4 adults and 2 children, we made a donation of €50, €10 per adult and €5 per child. Were you breaking any rules in doing so? As I say, I don't know precisely how that works. Greg, do you or your listeners know the up-to-date COVID requirements for travelling to the Canary Islands this summer? Thank you very much indeed. If you are travelling from the EU, which you would be, you would need a EU digital cert, seemingly, or a certificate of full vaccination against COVID-19, or you can just go with a negative antigen test or a certificate of recovery. That's what's required as of now. What might be required in the summer, I don't know. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael acting like spoiled children regarding Sinn Féin's present position after last week's election. Another, Sinn Féin walked out of government and brought down the Assembly in Northern Ireland over Irish language. Now, they, Sinn Féin, criticised the DUP for negotiating before agreeing a government. OK. Before we take a break, Christopher joins us now on line 2. Hi, Christopher.
Hi, how's it going?
You heard from the senator there saying that, he recognises the problems in this country, but still thinks we should be able to find the money to offer a military defence of our waters and our skies. What do you think?
Well, I don't think... look, it's a bit like turning up to a gunfight with a knife, I don't believe that Ireland will ever have the financial might to bring what would be necessary to enter what they would call a third world war. Unless you had the money to buy a nuclear bomb. Not that I ever condone such a thing, but realistically, we're just too small a nation to consider any such idea. The country is in a very bad financial position. We're 237 billion in debt, almost €250 billion. That's €50,000 for every man, woman and child in the country, or €95,000 for every working person in the country.
I think that might be a pre-COVID figure too, is it? Or does that include the COVID response?
2021.
Yeah.
21. The situation is that the interest on our debt is 1.5%. So we're getting away very lightly on a huge debt. We're servicing interest at a very, very low interest rate. And that would be great if it maintained like that. But the only tool in the tool chest to fight what we have today, which is serious inflation, is to increase interest rates. Like, if you only go back to 2013, the interest rates were 4.5% on debt of about 185 billion at the time. and the interest payment on that per annum was 8 billion. Now, if you were to translate that into today, we'd be facing an interest bill of 11 billion on the current debt. So that would be the equivalent to the education budget for the entire year, going entirely to just interest only. So
do you think, and I'll put the same question to you I did the Senator, in reality, I don't know what we could actually do to act as any sort of a actual deterrent as such. I mean, the notion of launching a couple of fighters that would speak to a Russian airplane or fighter and say, look, you're in Irish space, get out. You know, I mean, the amount of money that would be required just for that exchange is ridiculous. But obviously, from a cyber perspective, and given the amount of, big tech we have in this country, and maybe they should actually be footing the bill, the cyber element's a different conversation. I see it as a different conversation, sorry. Do you?
The cyber element is very serious. I mean, if you recall, the Russian warships were sitting in February down 150 miles southwest of Cork. A lot of people at the time said, that's just Russian naval exercises, nothing to be concerned about. But, if you look, there's a map that's was issued there not too long ago of the communication pipelines from Europe, the UK and Ireland to America. They run right under that location where those Russian warships were. Like, you can look it up on Google. It's there for everyone to see. I just couldn't believe that they actually released that map for the whole world to see. But you can see the communication pipelines running to America, and those Russian warships were sitting right above that. And if you read more into it and do a bit of research yourself, you'll see that American generals have been saying that Russian submarines have been following communication pipelines for a long time. Now, Ireland has positioned itself as the Silicon Valley of Europe, and that's great. And it was all about basically making us a very attractive location from a corporation tax perspective. And our young generation are getting fantastic education in the whole world of technology. But a byproduct of that is that we can really no longer call ourselves neutral, because we have become the communications hub of Europe. And as such, we're the Achilles heel of Europe, because we have no security to protect all of this tech that we find ourselves in at the moment. We've got Google here, we've got IBM.
But I presume those companies don't rely on their host nations to provide their security, though, do they?
Well, this is the question we need to ask. Somebody needs to answer the question. That we have these server buildings. Most of them are located in Dublin. By 2030, 40% of our electricity supply is going to be pulled by these communication hubs, if you like, with banks and banks of servers. Let's say, for argument's sake, and this is just pure science fiction, but let's say they launch cruise missiles, take these out. It would be 5 to 10 minutes before every single one of them would be hit. What would be the effect on the communications in Ireland, Europe, further afield?
All right, Christopher. Unfortunately, the line's failing us a little bit there, but I get your point. It's points well made. If anyone agrees or otherwise, 086 60 25,000. That is the text or WhatsApp number. Right, we'll be back with more in a moment.
The 9 till noon show with the City of Derry Airport, Algarve and Majorca summer holidays from the City of Derry Airport. Free childcare places available for ages 2 to 11. Visit cityofderryairport.com.
Thinking of changing your floors? Why not see what Florid Letterkenny has to offer? Florid have a large selection of solid, semi-solid and laminate click vinyl wood flooring, together with a fantastic choice of parquet, herringbone flooring, all at incredible value. Don't delay. Call Florid today on 087 161 7008.
Print your First Communion photos at Mcgee's Chemist and you'll get a free, large 10x8 photo of your choice. With photos from just 12 cents, you can print in-store or use the Mcgee's Photo Prints app and have them delivered direct to your door. Preserve all your best First Communion moments or great memories from any big occasion with Mcgee's Chemist Letterkenny, where the best costs less. Terms and conditions apply. Ask in-store for details.
Bingo every Monday night at Halfway House Bingo Burnfoot. Doors open at 7:30 with eyes down at 8:30. €2,500 must go. Snowball is now €5,400 on 45 numbers or less. If you're not in, you can't win. That's Halfway House Bingo tonight at 8:30.
As we move into spring, it's time that we look after what is precious to us.
Are you struggling with your hearing? Your hearing is an essential part of your everyday living. Hearing is our social sense and connects you to friends and family. At Connect Hearing, we are here for you with our clinics at Courtyard Shopping Centre, Letterkenny, and Joyce's Chiropody Clinic in Dunlow. Our centres are open Monday to Friday, where you can avail of our hearing test, wax removal and repair services. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Our Monday focus today is on Europe Day, to discuss Europe Day and the importance of Europe to Donegal, and that is open for debate, some might feel as well. We're joined by two guests on the programme. I'm delighted to welcome Minister Charlie McConalogue, Minister for Agriculture and the Marine. Good morning to you, Minister.
Good morning, Greg.
It's good to have you with us. And also a special guest, the Spanish ambassador to Ireland, Ambassador El Delfonso Castro. Good morning, Ambassador. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Talk to me, if you don't mind, Ambassador, firstly about your visit so far to the northwest of Ireland, what you've been doing, what you hope to be doing.
Well, today I'm working accompanying the minister, but yesterday I had the opportunity to drive around the Inishowen Peninsula and enjoying the nature and having a nice walking on the beach with my wife. And this is my second time in Donegal. Some years ago I was in Rathmullen for a bank holiday, and I like this north-west part of Ireland. I come from the northwest part of Spain, and so I'm also feeling happy here in Donegal.
I mean, there are historical connections there, and we've often heard on this programme, Ambassador, that maybe, both us here in the Northwest and even from a Spanish tourism perspective, that maybe we should be talking more about those historical connections. You would know, of course, there's a number of places in Spain named after, Irish people that had an influence over there. Do you see any value, or have you any interest in pursuing that avenue?
Yes, of course. Look, Ireland and Spain have a long story together. The first treaty between our countries was signed in 1529, the Treaty of Donegal, and from there are many moments we were in the same side of the trenches, so to say. Actually, Rathmullen has an important connection with Spain because the flight of the Alps was from there to La Coruña, and of course we still work together on bilateral basis and also at the European Union level. Actually, this morning, early in the morning, we're visiting with the Minister a project about European trails, and there are some trails in Spain and some other here in Donegal. I think there are many opportunities to work together.
Minister McConalogue, the EU 50, that really, is it the basis of your invitation to the ambassador?
Yeah, it is, and it's great to welcome Ambassador Castro here this morning to St Patrick's National School in Carndona, and similar events are happening right across the country today to mark the 50th anniversary, which will be tomorrow. Actually, today is Europe Day, but tomorrow is the 50th anniversary of Ireland voting to join the EU. So in acknowledgement of that, where there's events right across the country where ambassadors from many European countries are joining with government ministers to visit schools and do various events to mark the occasion and mark the solidarity and cooperation that has served us so well over those 50 years, and that has seen our country progress so tremendously as a result of joining the European Union, and indeed has worked really well for countries right across the EU too. So it's good to be here this morning with Principal Anne McLaughlin, and also we're joined by Mayor Jack Murray, Mayor County Council Mayor, and Deputy Mayor Councillor Martin McDermott, local councillor here, and also local councillor Albert Doherty, who's a former principal here at St Patrick's National School as well, and indeed so many of the students and indeed their family too. But the students here has been really interesting. They've been taking part in what's known as the Blue Star programme, which has been a programme where teachers and primary schools carry out projects and tasks related to the history, geography, culture and institutions of the EU. And we've seen 240 primary schools take part in that this year. It was really good to engage with the students this morning and hear their questions. It was very much led by their questions and discussion, and have that opportunity to discuss, how the EU interacts with local politics, national politics, but is really important in terms of working on issues together to make real progress and benefit everyone.
Yeah, and 88%, a new poll, 88% of people here support Ireland's continued membership of the EU. And this is to both of you, I suppose. I mean, obviously, we can look back on the 50 years and the benefits of it, and some might see it otherwise. But I do wonder, too, the Russian invasion of Ukraine, if big events like that also perhaps have even more influence, at least in a snapshot situation. What do you think, Ambassador Castro?
Well, first, look, I think we have to celebrate this anniversary. I mean, the European Union is good. It's been very positive both for Ireland and for Spain. We are not founding members. We entered the European Union later, but since our entry, things improve in our country. Politics, economy, many things, and it's a very positive institution, and we'll continue to work together. As you can see, for instance, now recently with Brexit, it was the key thing was to stick together, and I think that Ireland, not all Irish people, realize the important solidarity of all other European countries and the importance of being a member of the European Union. Ukraine invasion. Well, it's terrible. It's not a war. It's people, Ukrainians, defending their homes, their families, their lives from an aggression. It's different. They are just defending themselves. The European Union, I think we are doing our bit. Some countries have supplied non-lethal assistance materials. We did in Spain, in the case of Spain, we supply both non-lethal and lethal. We have to bear in mind that we are helping a country to defend themselves from an external aggression. And that's important.
Yeah, and we referenced it a little bit earlier on, and we'll come back to the topic in hand too, but it was kind of interesting that Vladimir Putin used his very important address today to not really, I mean, he blamed the West for the war, as you might expect, but he didn't use it to make any bombshell announcement, which I think an awful lot of commentators feared he might. Minister McConnell, I think it depends, what you're talking about as to the public's reaction to the EU. Do you think, in that yourself with your Department of the Marine and Department of Agriculture, that that people working in those industries, and particularly fishing, I suppose, more recently, would feel hard done by? For example, ambassadors' country people are allowed to fish much more stocks in our waters than we might be able to ourselves. Fishermen might say to you, what's good about Europe in that regard?
Yeah, well, I think first of all to look at it broadly, Greg. There's no doubt whatsoever of how tremendous the European Union and joining it has been, and what a significant decision that was for Ireland. We're now one of the most developed and financially well-off states in the world, actually, as a result of having made that decision. And we're a really, really different country, and in a really, really different position in terms of people's quality of life and standard of living from where we were when we joined the European Union, or indeed where we would be if we didn't have that cooperation and engagement. As a small island, we produce way more across the board than we consume, so trade is really, really important, and indeed diversification of that trade. And whenever we would have joined the European Union, over 60% of our trade and exports went to Britain, whereas today the European Union is our biggest destination, and I think Britain is in 15-16% of what our total exports would be, and indeed we export around the world. So that has been really, really important. It's been really crucial as well from an agricultural point of view. 90% of the food we produce in this country is exported abroad, the vast majority of that within the EU. So that EU market, which is the highest value market in the world for agricultural food, has been really important to our farmers. In terms of fisheries, the challenging aspect has been that from when the Common Fisheries Policy was first established in the early 80s, the track record up to that point of different countries' record of fishing was what established the relative stability between countries at that point in time. And that has been a challenge for us, and it's something whenever Common Fisheries Policy reviews come up for discussion that we always are pushing to try and increase our capacity, because certainly the amount of fish that we catch doesn't reflect the level of waters that we have. The challenge, though, is that it was pegged at what different countries would have fished, back in the early 80s, and our fleet at that stage was primarily an inshore fleet working a few miles off the coast, whereas all the European fleets were more developed at that point in time. And of course now, with how we've seen the size of boats increase over the years, the capacity to fish that we would have, or indeed that other countries would have, is a way above that. The other thing that we've seen happen over the years as well is an increasing attention being paid as well to the sustainability of how we fish. So while and the importance of actually ensuring that we manage and don't take more from the stocks, from the fish stocks, than what they can actually allow, without actually undermining that stock and seeing that stock eroded. And we've seen over a number of years many of the stocks which have been really important in Ireland. So, for example, the herring and cod, which have been really important stocks for us traditionally, they became overfished, and indeed at the moment they're not being fished because of the fact that they aren't there to give the stocks.
I understand that, but the bottom line is we only get 15% of the whole of fish in our waters. The Spanish, our lovely friends in Spain, they can catch 40,000 tonnes of species in Irish waters, more than we can. And Ambassador, we're not allowed to fish in your waters at all.
Well, as the fleets are a little bit different, usually, as the Minister explained, the level of development of the fleets when the quota were established are different. But look, the ships. I'm not an expert. I cannot give you figures. But look, this is the European Union. It's a club with rules, and the rules are for everybody. So the access to the waters. I mean, it's of course split between member states, but I don't see any problem with it. Actually, recently Irish trawlers were fishing in Spanish waters, but it's not very common.
Okay,
it's not very common.
Ambassador, what is the big talking points on Europe in your country? Because of course, we all have different views, and that's healthy, and that's where we get to good places with good debate and exchanging of views. What is if you could sort of give an average, what's the Spanish attitude to membership of the EU?
It's extremely high.
Yeah,
extremely high. Look, when Spain signed the first preferential agreement with the then European Economic Community in 1970, we were still not a democracy, and then we became a democracy. So we have to get over many obstacles and requirements to become a member. But once in Spain, everybody is let's say, Euro fanatic. In some countries there are Euro skeptics. In Spain, we are mostly Euro fanatics. We have a good experience of the European Union in terms of investment, in terms of agriculture policy, instead of many things. And for instance, it was curious when the big enlargement to the Eastern European countries took place. Spain, to my surprise, was the most positive country. The support for the big enlargement of the European Union was over 80%. And we have look, in Spain, when you talk about Brussels is a nice word. It's a nice word. The European Union helps. Maybe we have problems, we have discussions, but helps. It's helpful. And you see all the good things of the European Union in daily life. The euro, for instance, you are not a Schengen country because of your special relation with the UK, but those things are real life, and many things that improve for our countrymen all over, and that thanks to, of course, good governance, but also with the help of the European Union.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking through a big spread on, it was a sponsored spread, as you'd imagine.
I'll say the problem. The debate in Spain is like in Ireland. It's basically inflation, energy prices. Basically, those are, let's say, the topics, the two top topics right now: energy in general, and of course a bit the how we redress the economic situation with the next generation funds and all of that. But basically, we share the same problem. Maybe we have national problems from time to time, but basically, I mean, we are in a club, we are in the world, and we have the same problems. It's basically inflation and energy prices.
Yeah, Minister McConnell, I think that's right across the board, isn't it? I mean, even on a local level, Donegal County Council was one of the first local authorities, wasn't it, to sort of see the benefit of applying into the EU for funding and what have you. you. Do you think either as a local authority or even maybe you prefer to answer nationally, are we, maximising the potential of our relationship and the funding streams and other measures that are within the EU? Could we be doing more as a country, I wonder?
I think we do it very well, and I think Donegal County Council actually are one of the best counties at that, and any opportunities that are there, they are always involved and trying to work with others and trying to access funding, but also trying to cooperate closely. So as the ambassador mentioned, the first engagement we had this morning was at the Inch Levels Wildlife Reserve, and the walkway, the greenway that is around the lake as well, and there's ongoing investment there, which is a part of a European programme as well, working with 7 countries, including Spain, in terms of investing in walkways, and that's yet another example of that. But like from a Donegal point of view, from a West of Ireland point of view, those regional funds, which were so important throughout the 80s and 90s in particular, which were going more towards the more disadvantaged regions within the EU, were really, really important in relation to helping to bring our region forward and putting investment in roads and sewerage infrastructure, and there was lots of great progress made, and that was European funding that came through at a time whenever we weren't as well off as other European countries, and I think it has benefited us really, really strongly. And in terms of the energy challenges there at the moment, the big progress we have to make there is moving away from fossil fuels to renewable energy. And we're going to be investing in terms of offshore energy and solar energy, particularly around that. But again, working within the EU can all be of benefit to one another, because by connecting our energy sources to the continent, again, you can balance out different times where sun is strong in some places and where wind is strong in others. And that can be really beneficial as well. And again, the biggest challenge in relation to energy, of course, is climate change and working on that. And that's something which no one country can do on their own. Indeed, no one continent can do on their own. But again, the EU has been very much has been a leader in relation to trying to make progress in that and ensure that over the next generation we actually seek to reduce emissions, and that has been really important.
Yeah, just on that issue, just a curiosity, obviously, the last week wind energy hasn't contributed much to the national grid because we're very reliant on the wind blowing, the same as our water system. If it stops raining, because we gather water on the surface, and as soon as that dries out, I think the Spanish might do it differently. I think they might access more water from under the ground. But my question anyway was to you, Ambassador. How are you doing in terms of generating renewable energies? Is your focus on wind, solar? How far are you along the road that you need to be, do you think?
Well, first there is a will to go green, to go greener. In Spain, last year, we do both wind and solar, and last year wind turbines got around 24% of our energy, more than nuclear. We still have some nuclear plants working, and they produce about 20-21% of our energy, and only wind turbines got 23-24. And then solar too. I think we are in a good position. The problem with sometimes the problem is you need a backup if the wind doesn't blow. So we have a quite peculiar position in Europe, because the Iberian Peninsula is in a way an energetic island. Because our level of interconnection, both electric and gas, with France, with the rest of Europe, are poor. So that's the reason I don't want to open any big discussion about Irish issues.
Yes.
But for instance, we have 7 plants of regasification all over our coast, and that's a massive infrastructure. But we cannot maximize their use because our connection still with France is poor. But yesterday, the President of the Commission was in Barcelona in a meeting, and she committed herself to give priority to a new pipe linking Spain and France. I think it's a good opportunity. We don't produce gas ourselves. We got our gas through pipe from Algeria, basically, and we got gas from, tankers from Norway, US, and other countries.
All right. Finally, to you, Minister McConnell, what's your parting message just to mark, I suppose, the Europe Day, but also to have, and it's great to have Ambassador Castro over here with us. How do you want to conclude?
Yeah, well, just to thank Principal Anne McLaughlin here and all the teachers and particularly all the students at St Patrick's National School for hosting us today and for taking part in the Blue Star programme as well, and for the great questions and engagement that we've had and interest they've shown, and thank Ambassador Castro for coming to Donegal and Carndona today and for the ongoing friendship. And I think, you know, we all, Greg, particularly coming out of the Brexit referendum, I think it's only highlighted to all of us how valuable that relationship with the European Union is, and I think it's actually strengthened the sentiment within Ireland for for working even more closely with our European partners and friends. And this day, coming up to tomorrow, the 50th anniversary, it's a good opportunity just to reflect on where we've come and the importance of that relationship. And there'll always be challenges, and indeed in politics, whether it's local or national or European level, there's always issues which can be difficult to address, but it's only by that engagement and working together that you can really make progress. And indeed what we're seeing in relation to Ukraine and what's happening there emphasises the alternative and why, what can happen when you don't have that cooperation. One of the founding reasons of the European Union for everyone to work together to avoid the type of scenario that was there, that visited the world in the last century, where there was 2 world wars at the start of the century and the middle of the century, and certainly the second half of the last century and the first quarter of this one has been a very, very different experience, and that's something we want to continue and build on.
And last word to you, Ambassador.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to Donegal. I'm enjoying my time here, and thank you for having me in your program, and I hope to be here back soon.
Excellent. And the weather isn't normally like it is today either.
Well, I come from northwest Spain.
Oh, right, okay.
It's as rainy as it is in here.
You
so
understood.
I don't complain about the weather.
Okay.
And the European Union cannot fix that, unfortunately.
All right, listen, thank you very much, both of you. I really appreciate it. That was Minister Charlie McConnell, Minister for Agriculture and the Marine, Ambassador Ildefonso Castro, who's the Spanish ambassador to Ireland, speaking to us live there from Inishowen, and thanks to Kevin as well, who helped with the technicals to get that to make that happen. Okay, back with more after these.
The 9 till noon show with City of Derry Airport. Enjoy convenient travel to London, Liverpool, Manchester, Glasgow, Edinburgh, the Algarve and Majorca. Visit cityofderryairport.com.
The hilarious Three Hail Marys is coming to Letterkenny.
Mary, how are we going to keep in touch? I know, Mary, I know. Send me a twit.
See Three Hail Marys at Ungrainon Theatre Letterkenny for one night only, Friday, May 13th. See ungrainon.com or call 074 9120777.
At Lidl, we do things every day to make life better for us all. Things like being the first retailer to work with farmers on a sustainable beef programme to improve environmental impact. Donating over 600,000 meals in the last year through our partnership with Food Cloud. And helping bees by doubling our number of pollinator-friendly stores in 2022. Decision by decision, day by day, we're taking Lidl steps to a better tomorrow. Join us on our journey today at lidlsteps.ie. Lidl, more for you.
You'll find all the best toys at Foy's Ballybofey. Discover great value on all the latest toys, ride-ons, bikes and Bear go-karts, with new deliveries arriving every week. Great offers on best-selling brands like Lego, Fisher-Price and Barbie. With new deliveries every week, you can get all the fun shipped to your door, with free delivery on orders over €75. Shop local and find everything you need at Foy's Ballybofey, or shop online at toysatfoys.com.
Teagasc are holding a forest walk this Wednesday the 11th at 7 p.m. on the farm of Michael Chance, Drumbarnet Lower, Manor Cunningham, F92, F972. We will visit a recently felled spruce plantation transformed into a young woodland. It has been redesigned with recreation in mind. Speakers are Michael Chance farmer, Ross Buchanan, forestry contractor, and Stephen Meehan, Teagasc forestry advisor. All welcome.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Now flying to 19 destinations this summer with 7 days car parking from just €30 when you book online. Ireland West Airport. you're flying.
Okay, rain will move across the region this morning and afternoon, gradually clearing to scattered showers and sunny intervals from the west. Some heavy showers are possible, especially in the evening. It'll be a breezy day with moderate to fresh and gusty southerly winds, increasing strong at times. Highest temperatures of 14 to 15 degrees. One more quick break before the news at 11.
The 9 till noon show with City of Derry Airport. Pre-book your airport parking, fast track and lounge access at cityofderryairport.com for a stress-free start to your trip.
Right now, you can get Sky TV and broadband with Netflix at no extra cost, all for €55 a month.
Must be worth a conversation, son.
Yep, Netflix is on us.
Shall we dance?
With Sky, you get the best entertainment all in one place. So get Sky TV and broadband with Netflix at no extra cost, all for €55 a month. What are you waiting for? Search Sky 55. Availability subject to location. New Sky customers only. Setup fees, minimum term and further terms apply. For more information, see sky.ie/speeds.
Sun soak for less. This summer with TUI. Savings on holidays in May and June. Holiday sorted. TUI. Live happy.
GiveBlood.ie know we can count on you, our community of blood donors, to give blood and to choose to be there for others in their hour of need. Blood donors from Buncrana should attend the clinic in the Inishowen Gateway Hotel on Monday 9th and Tuesday 10th, and donors from Carndonagh should attend the clinic in the Carndonagh Community School on Wednesday 11th and Thursday 12th of May. To ensure social distancing, all donors need to make an appointment, so call 1-800-731-137 to book your time. New donors are welcome. Visit giveblood.ie to see eligibility and clinic details.
They say you should have your second baby first, because with your second baby, you'll have learned what to do, what not to do, what's best for baby and best for you. Like the Loopy Loo range from Lidl. Everything your baby needs, including award-winning nappies from only 99 cents. When you know what to do, Loopy Loo. Available exclusively at Lidl. More for you. See our full range at Lidl.ie/Loopy Loo.
Join me this Monday for the DL debate as we review another huge weekend of GA action. We'll have feedback and analysis from our senior ladies footballers, our senior hurlers and our minor and senior footballers. My guests will include GA correspondent and poet Jerry McLaughlin, former Derry footballer now assistant with Kilcoo Conleith Gilligan, and our own Highland Radio pundit and assistant manager with Donegal Miners Brendan Kilcoyne. That's the DL debate just after 7pm news this Monday and podcasted on highlandradio.com.
The DL debate with Sister Sarah's Letterkenny, serving food you'll love till 9pm daily in Sarah's Kitchen.
Okay, and Brendan Devaney will be joining us a little later on in this hour to look back at the weekend sporting action. We at the ladies or seniors games or the minors or any of the teams playing, and you have a view or an opinion, get in touch and we'll put it to Brendan, see what he has to say. At 11 o'clock, it's news update time, and it's over to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. The Northern Secretary Brandon Lewis will meet with the North's political party leaders later today, urging them to restore power sharing quickly. However, the DUP still won't say if it will nominate a Deputy First Minister after Sinn Féin became the largest party, winning 27 seats, 2 more than the DUP. It's expected that the DUP will refuse to enter into a new executive until its concerns over the protocol are addressed. Meanwhile, on today's 9 till noon show, Senator Niall Blaney, the Fianna Fáil Seanad spokesperson on Northern Ireland, said a new executive is important for Donegal as a number of cross-border projects need to proceed, particularly the A5. The first ever meeting of the new EU-UK Parliamentary Partnership Assembly will take place this week in Brussels. The Assembly was established last year as part of the post-Brexit process. There are 35 members each from the European Parliament and from the UK Parliament. The fire service in Derry dealt with a major blaze in the grounds of a former hospital building in Grantia last night. Residents were urged to keep doors and windows closed because of the fear of fumes from hazardous materials. Over 30 firefighters tackled the blaze. A number remain on the scene today. The fire was brought under control in the early hours of this morning. Irish water personnel are working to repair a burst water main in North Inishowen. As a result, they say there may be supply disruptions in Clonely, Three Trees, Trumity, Bogstown, Quigley's Point and surrounding areas. Works are scheduled to take place until 4 o'clock this afternoon, with Irish Water warning that people should allow 2 to 3 hours for supplies to fully return to normal. And last month registered the highest ever proportion of wind-generated power in Ireland. Figures show wind energy provided 32% of the country's electricity in April of 2022. That was up 7% from the previous year. Wind Energy Ireland says the volume of wind helped push down the average wholesale price of electricity, but there was still a 155% increase on last year, and more renewables should get that price down further. At present, Donegal County Council is consulting the public on proposed changes to the county development plan as it pertains to wind farms. Wind Energy Ireland's CEO says the planning process nationally should be easier and quicker. And Russia's president has described Moscow's military action in Ukraine as a response to Western provocation. Vladimir Putin was speaking at a major military parade held every year on May 9th to mark victory over the Nazis in World War II. And we're back with headlines again at 12 noon.
Thank you very much, Donal.
Let's take a moment for that last Big Mac mouthful. You wish you could have that first bite feeling all over again. Well, luckily for you, the Grand Big Mac and Grand Big Mac Bacon are back at McDonald's, so you can spend longer with the taste you love. Served from 11 a.m. Available until the 7th of June. Participating restaurants only, subject to availability.
Okay, are you a big Andre Rio fan? Well, you could be going to see him on the 14th of December. May I beg your pardon, because we have 3 spaces remaining on our Andre Rio trip this Saturday. It's €275 per person. Sharing price includes luxury transfer, overnight stay in the 4-star City North Hotel on a B&B basis, your ticket to the show, and the trip will include a few hours leisure time in Dublin on Sunday before travelling back to Donegal. And that is good value because, and it was a once-off and it was a treat, I spent that amount only on accommodation going to a concert recently. You get the accommodation, you get the tickets, you get transfers, and you get a few hours in Dublin to do a bit of shopping as well. It's 3 spaces remaining on Highland Radio's Andre Rio trip this Saturday, the 14th of May. So it's a last-minute decision, but one you can do and perhaps enjoy. Right. Hi Greg, I totally agree with that lady about the price of darkness into light. My son and I have been contemplating doing the walk as a few years, but even with booking early, it's still very costly. I think €10 per person is quite sufficient. They might get more doing it. Yeah, indeed. And I just don't think involvement in something like that should come down to how much money you have. I'm just going to say, I hinted at it earlier, but maybe there's T's and C's on the website that says you can make a donation and join if you wish. I don't know. Someone can educate me on that one. Ireland does not need defending, says a caller. European heads of state make lovely speeches about democracy and the rule of law, about the necessity to uphold human rights. The hypocrisy. We've refugees from the Middle East drowning in overcrowded dinghies in the Mediterranean Ocean. These refugees from the Middle East have been fleeing due to actions taken by the West, who have played a hand in destroying their country. If we were to take responsibility for Western government actions, we should be prioritising Muslim refugees over Ukrainian ones, although I don't see the logic in that. I want to help all refugees, but I think our responsibility lies more with Syrian refugees who are bombed by weapons, some that are made in the UK. The West suck up to America and do what America wants, period. We do not need to copy warmongers. And then, of course, there are those who will add on to your point about maybe Western actions which contributed to the starting of the war in Ukraine, and so on it goes. It's so complex. Right, okay, something completely different now, and we're joined on the line by Mary. Hiya, Mary.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
Not too bad at all. So you're thinking of heading to beautiful Killarney in August. So you thought you'd get in there early and get the bargains. What did you find?
Well, I've got tickets for a concert in Killarney at the end of August. And I just went on booking.com this morning just to see what was out there, what was available. And the first 5 or 6 to come up on booking.com, there's none of them under €600 for 2 nights.
That's shocking.
It sure is. You know, some of them are over 700. One of them is a 3-star guest house.
Yes.
Not even a hotel. And it's €580 for 2 nights.
Unbelievable stuff. I mean, that's not doable, is it? I mean, no one can afford that.
It's not. To drive to Killarney for 2 nights and spend that on B&B, and get your dinner after that, and
Yeah, I mean, there's just there's no justification. What nights were you looking to book down there, I wonder?
It is a Saturday and a Sunday night.
Yeah.
Granted, but still, I think, people coming on holidays, I suppose Booking.com is the first port of call, and, that's what they're being hit with.
Yeah, and unfortunately what we see, and people will say, look, it's supply versus demand, but as soon as there's talk of a major sporting event or a major concert taking place, say, for instance, in the likes of Dublin, you want to be the early bird and get on, and often you're faced with these massive prices from the get-go, and then people feel like they're really just gouging us. They just know we're stuck, and they're taking advantage.
Of course. I mean, I have no intention of paying those prices, and I'd probably get an Airbnb for a lot less, which will be fine. But I just thought I'll check out the hotels.
Yeah, and as you say, one's a guest house. It's not even a hotel, which is effectively a B&B, isn't it? Not
a B&B.
Yeah, there's no harm in that, don't get me wrong, but...
Nothing wrong with the B&B, of course, but I mean, to pay €580 for 2 nights?
I think the greenhouse was actually $616, so it would be €308 per night.
Per night, yeah.
Free cancellation, though.
Oh, that's great.
As if that matters. If you had that amount of money, you wouldn't be worried about it. So your search continues. You might go a little bit away from the venue, maybe look at the Airbnb sector, but these people...
That's what we'll do. Like, even you had to travel 10 or 12 miles outside Killarney
to
get something cheaper.
Exactly. But I think, as you say, it's the message it sends. I mean, if you were from outside the country looking to come and visit, you would go, hold on a second, I'm not going near that place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
all right.
One 4-star hotel is $786. Like, I could get two tickets to America for that.
Oh, you could pay. You see, the problem is you could fly to Portugal, pay for all inclusive probably, and your flights for 2 people for that. That's the issue here.
Yeah.
And we don't want to. I think this country got a great lift with people holidaying at home because we couldn't fly out of the country, and I really think the industry wants to make sure it doesn't shoot the goose that lays the golden egg.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. What concert are you going to see? Do you mind me asking?
It's Daniel
O'Donnell.
Yeah.
Lovely stuff. Oh, yeah. He's always in Clarley.
It's been cancelled. Like, I think it was supposed to be on in 2020, and we got presents of 2 tickets.
Right.
And
well, you're going to enjoy. I mean, Daniel delivers every single time, so you don't have to worry about the entertainment. It's just the accommodation now.
Yeah.
All right, if anyone's got any wee tips or anything, we'll pass them on to you. Thanks for highlighting that with us, Mary, and enjoy the concert. It's going to be great, of course.
I will do. Thanks, Greg.
Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you very much for your call. Any similar experiences? Here, says this listener, on the Darkness into Light. Much too expensive. We are also a family of 4 who were willing to walk but had to forget about it. Another caller says, what is the carbon footprint of one wind turbine? I passed close to a wind farm last week, and judging by their size, I was wondering how much land has to be moved to create the thousands of tons of concrete needed to hold these structures upright in the wind. There can't be any regard for the ecosystem and natural habitat of existing wildlife. Wind energy is therefore not free. And of course, there is. It has been worked out how long a wind turbine has to be up before it's even seen as sort of carbon neutral. I don't know those figures off the top of my head, so best not to quote them. Another texter says, Bono saves the world again. He's such a man of peace. When will he get a Nobel Peace Prize? He's my superhero and such a great voice. We're lucky to have him as an Irish ambassador. He's loved worldwide. Such a pity Ireland is full of begrudgers. Therefore, we criticise him instead of worshipping him. I don't. There's irony in that, and then there seems to be irony in that message, and then there seems to be honest intent. I don't know. I can't work it out. Turbines are backed up 24/7 by gas and other fossil fuels, believes this caller, because the grid cannot take the intermittent electricity. The propaganda is from the Wind Energy Association, who profit. There's an ongoing auction of subsidies on right now, and only those companies who get subsidies will apply for planning permission. Result of the auction is May 17th, they say. All right, we'll be talking sport, GEA more specifically, with Brendan Devaney after we take this break. Stay right where you are.
The 9 till noon show with City of Derry Airport. Pre-book your airport parking, fast track and lounge access at cityofderryairport.com for a stress-free start to your trip.
When your new smart meter arrives, it's going to change everything about how you use electricity. And Electric Ireland is ready to help you enjoy it all. From choosing your own billing date to saying goodbye to estimated bills and taking more control over your usage. You'll be able to make better energy choices for you and for Ireland. So the better it'll be for everyone. Search Electric Ireland smart meters today. Electric Ireland. We're brighter together.
Fancy a barbecue this evening? Pop into Kelly Centre in Letterkenny and you'll find all you need. Burgers, sausages and chicken pieces, burger baps, cheese and great offers in the off-licence. Portable barbecues, utensils and even garden furniture. For the perfect barbecue, visit Kelly's award-winning centre at Mountaintop Letterkenny.
Breaking gardening news. Our correspondent Petunia at Alcorn's Garden Centre.
I am surrounded by an array of spectacular summer bedding. These beauties are moving fast with last year's prices held. Wow! I'm amazed by the choice of shrubs, trees, roses and perennials. Ah, Rosemary has just selected a super specimen plant and trendy ceramic pot. Oh, Craig is advising on the many baskets. Buy from Alcorns, where value happens every day.
Bingo every Monday night at Halfway House Bingo Burnfoot. Doors open at 7:30 with eyes down at 8:30. €2,500 must go. Snowball is now €5,400 on 45 numbers or less. If you're not in, you can't win. That's Halfway House Bingo tonight at 8:30.
Okay, the DL debate, the GEA podcast, is available for you later on today. It'll be broadcast out on air. Its presenter, of course, is Brendan Devaney. Good morning, Brendan. How are you keeping?
Morning. Not too bad, Greg.
I suppose, there's a lot of action, but yesterday's game, Donegal versus Cavan, I think, and I don't want to be critical, but it's not meant to. This is more in sympathy to Cavan than to put Donegal down. I'm not trying to do that, but the scoreline a little bit flattering, and especially if that shot off the bar had gone in, it would have been a bit cruel on Cavan because they were in that game pretty much right to the end, weren't they?
Yeah, that Smith Everett, you're right, but a save it was too.
Yeah.
Pat and good hands to it. So yeah, we seemed a bit out of sorts the first half, and again, how much you put that down to us and how well they played. They were brilliant. They were mixing it up, physically strong. They were interchanging their full forward line, and they're in front of goals at half time. They had 10 shots, got 9 points and some cracking scores in there, and they were stripping the ball off us, and we didn't. We looked out of sorts, but you really thought we kind of limped into half time. Like a lot of our scores came from frees and that, and it was 9 each, and you thought we'll get better second half. But you're right, the goal was a wee bit fortuitous, the way it broke back to O'Donnell. Good finish, but the keeper coming out probably made that a goal that mightn't have happened, and that was, I suppose, the kind of bit of a turning point for us. But listen, Cavan were brilliant, particularly in that first half.
Yeah, and I suppose at the end of the day, you have to beat what's in front of you, and if a good team can switch it up and can pull it out of the bag when need be, dependent on the opposition.
Yeah, and listen, you're right. I think there was a bit of experience and players coming back, and Jamie Brennan, you'd see that extra bit of game time and training, and Keelan McGonigal come off the bench at the point in an important stage, and that. So we've got a good mixture of a squad there now. Cavan trying to squeeze up on Patton as well, and he was able to just clip the ball past him. So we have a lot of things was good about it. I think from the Cavan perspective, people are looking at them because they went down to Division 4, thinking, that this should be
spent fools.
Yeah, but really that probably shouldn't have happened. And in the lockdown, there was a lot of strange things that happened. Previous to them beating us in the final in 2020, they'd beat Monaghan back to back in the championship. Any day we beat Monaghan would be a good day. So they'd won a lot. They'd won 4 in a row underage, and they had a lot of good footballers. They'd been in Ulster final against us a few years previous, so they weren't like a lot of sides in Ulster. They were winning games in Ulster as well, and their league position. Looking at them, people are saying they're a Division 2 team. To me, looking at Armagh in the previous game, they look a better side than Armagh.
Yeah,
so
and there's some real good signs for the future as well, I think, in that Cavan team as well. Who do you think will be playing in the final?
That's a possible one, Greg. That is a toss of a coin. Listen, as I say, Conley's Gilligan's coming on later. It'll be interesting to get his views on what he thought about Derry. And again, looking at league games and looking at Cavan's league, we looked at Derry and we thought, right, they're coming up and up. They're one of the big five and all. So if you like, and then they get hammered by Galway in a freakish game, got absolutely taken apart. And then you think, well, maybe they're not that good. Then they come in and hammer Tyrone off the park. But listen, Monaghan have learned a lot from that Tyrone performance and how Derry played and what they did, so they'll have a plan. So I think that'll be a kick of a ball game. So it'll certainly set up a cracker for us. Whoever gets through, it's looking like a brilliant Ulster final.
The game before the senior game was the ladies' game. A victory for that team, which is a good.
Yeah, Ulster final. Now we are Armagh. Listen, Mcgee Curran do working his magic there. 319 to 111. Phenomenal stuff from the ladies. You know, they just seem to keep getting better. And big match now we are Armagh, and seeing how far Donegal can progress, because listen, they're an All-Ireland contender, and that's the dream for the girls.
All right. How did you think, just on the seniors, someone wants to know, I'm not sure if you did get to see this game live necessarily, or what, as in person, but I mean, obviously everyone's an armchair expert talking about Donegal's style. Is it adapted at all from, you know, the criticism that's been there as it relates to defence, the lateral play? Do you see any change? I'm not going to say progression, because that's to presume the old way is a bad way. I don't know enough to know that, but
it was hard to say yesterday. I think in the first half it slowed down a few times. You seen us going back. I always think that if you take that easy option, recycle back where they are dropping in players, they seem to be bringing a lot more energy and a lot more directness with us. We probably can learn a bit from that, because we have plenty of big men in there, and particularly the way Michael comes in and out, and Patrick can win his own ball. But maybe there is an option. I mean, the size of Langan, Mcgee and Keelan, maybe there's an option that we go longer, more direct, because you see the danger it causes, and it's almost impossible to mark with them big men. So I think there's something in that for Donegal.
Yeah, and the ability to maybe switch tact mid-game.
Mid-game, because they had 4 players, I mean, really coming in and out. Smith, McKiernan, Lynch, they could all win balls. Galligan. And every one of them was as they're rotating in, you see your defence isn't set. Well, if you've just a guy standing in there all the time, you're basically shepherding him and he's trying to get into the game. Whereas if you have a guy that's half in and he's coming in and out, who's picking him up? And at one stage, I think it was Galligan ended up with Ryan McHugh yesterday for a high ball in. So Kevin, I think we're almost trying to get that matchup. If McHugh ended up picking up one of those players, you drift inside, we'll give it in long. So it certainly is a tactic, because we have the players to do that.
Yeah. Okay. So Clonley Gilligan and Gilligan and Brendan Kilcoyne and Declan are going to be analysing that game and looking to the future too, I'm sure. Donegal manager Declan Boner on as well.
Yeah, and we have feedback and analysis from all the games as well. Declan Boner's coming on too to give us his take on it. So I'll be asking him what happened in that first half, and then I'll be saying it was your half-time team talk, obviously, Declan.
All the tough questions.
Did the magic. You can't be too tough when we won't come back. So
I know, that's a sports thing in this.
No, you have to ask him. Listen, Declan doesn't mind it.
No, I know that.
I know him well enough now.
He's thick-skinned, you have to be. And Jerry McLaughlin's on as well?
Yeah, I'm just waiting to hear from Jerry, all right. Yeah, Jerry, very interesting night a few weeks ago there. He has a poetry book out. You might ask, what's that got to do? Now, Jerry obviously is a GA correspondent. And on the night it was all GA was there. A couple of Galway guys, former Galway All-Ireland, one in captain, Sandy Malloy was down in that, and there was music. But it was obviously intertwined with GA. So it was a brilliant night. It was down just outside Ballyshannon in a wee hall down there. So I said to Jerry, come on, and I'm hoping he'll finish the show with a wee bit of poetry.
Yeah, something a bit different.
Yeah,
fair play to you.
Yeah.
All right, Brendan, now the show is available as a podcast later. It's broadcast on air after the 7 o'clock news.
That's it.
All right, Brendan, listen, thank you very much indeed. That's Brendan Devaney there, presenter of the DL Debate. He's in putting the finishing touches to that podcast just as we speak. Right, a caller says, Greg, never forget Bono's contribution to making the Good Friday Agreement happen. It may have only appeared for a second on stage, but never forget he was the link in the 3-man chain of our divided country. Is that accurate, or maybe over-egging it or underplaying it? I don't know. Why are people living at the Market Square on blankets and the same people have houses? I don't know the answer to that question, and I don't know the basis of that message either. Okay. Now, more comments coming in here, of course. I'll try and grab them. How long does it take to bruised ribs to heal, I wonder, especially in your back? Anyone? 086 60 25,000. I am not a good patient. I'm at my wit's end, and it's only been a day. Greg, I'm going to the Eagles concerts. Hotels were up to 925 on Booking.com. It's just unreal. I think it's always best to ring up reception as well. You know, Booking.com secures a certain amount of rooms in each hotel. And I know an awful lot of hotels want you to ring them up and talk to them directly. I just think Booking.com doesn't necessarily give you the full and accurate picture. I definitely ring around the hotels in the area. Some might have deals or cancellations or what have you. Booking.com, they have their set amount of rooms. They can set them at whatever they like, independent to the hotel, is my understanding. So don't be discouraged straight away by Booking.com. Try ringing your hotel direct, because even sometimes Booking.com will say Greg's hotel is sold out, right? But only the 4 or 5 rooms they have is sold out. The rest of the hotel is empty. Not empty, sorry. It has availability. So don't hang all your hopes on Booking.com is my suggestion. Hi, tell that lady to try Irish mini breaks or little breaks. Sometimes they do good deals. Another, we had American people over for Easter, went to a local hotel for dinner. They added €10 per person because it was Easter. An Easter premium. Okay. There isn't a hotel or Airbnb for under 300 a night at weekends in Dublin now. €1,000 for a weekend. A lot of hotels have refugees, so those remaining can charge what they like. Our tourism industry will suffer. Galway June Bank Holiday Hotel for 2 adults, 3 children, €12.50 for Saturday and Sunday night. €1,350 each for breakfast. Rip-off. Who is paying for these? But again, is that through... let's check some direct prices for hotels. It'd be worth, maybe we might do a little experiment here and ring up some of the hotels on these nights and see what their prices versus the Booking.com or other website prices. It's a disgrace what hotels are charging. Dublin a rip-off from May to August. I agree with Mary. Prices in hotels have increased because of inflation and got worse in certain areas because the hotels are accommodating people in crisis, leaving fewer to choose from. We've spent years building rural and local tourism only to break it down. And I think right from the get-go, and it wasn't in any way to say that we shouldn't be helping people because we have to. It was about hotels in built-up areas. I think I said it at the very first time it was mooted as part of the first interview, the first hotel. How long will this be for? Because the tourism industry is reliant very much. The shops that sells the newspapers, I think was the example I gave, or the coffee shop or the restaurant or wherever it might be, is reliant on people being in the area, often but staying in hotels. And if that hotel accommodation isn't there, well, then the tourists might not be there. Danny joins us now. Hiya, Danny.
Good morning to you, Greg. How are you?
Good to speak to you. We were sort of having a conversation about shopping home brands or own brands, and some suggestion you could save up to €3,000 a year by doing so. When you're out and about, are you looking for bargains? What's your approach, Danny?
Oh yes, I'm always looking for bargains, certainly, Greg. But no, my experience with home brands is that a few years ago, well, it's more than a few years ago, I used to shop and just rush in, get the product I was used to, and take it off the shelf and not look at the price or anything. But then there was one time that the product I went for wasn't there, so I just quickly took a home brand stuff, took it home, and I thought, oh, this is not bad and things. Then I started comparing prices, products, and things, and don't get me wrong, Greg, I'm not a sort of person that will eat anything just to be cheap.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to satisfy me, and then I was, excuse me.
That's all right.
Sorry, that was my phone just going off.
No problem.
It takes a lot to satisfy me, but now I'm quite content, see, because when I shop for myself, I get bread, I get tea, I get cereals, I get packet soup products, I get teen food, I get stuff for the dog. I've got an 18-year-old dog here, and he doesn't complain.
But I think, I think people can be very fussy on things like beans or spaghetti or tea bags. Do you notice any big difference between the traditional, the traditional famous brands and own brands and things like that?
You do. Yeah, you do indeed. Not so much it takes a while to get used to it. You sort of see difference, like, say, in the thickness of the quality of the sauce and stuff like that. But I found also with good products that they was going away from sort of my sort of tastes. Some of them was too sugary. Some of them are too salty. And I'm even eating food now that hasn't got low in sugar because I prefer the taste of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I found that myself, switching brands of one particular food to the other. It was, you could really feels like you could taste sugar and salt in it. and switched back again. Is there any no-goes for you? Do you know, because I presume if you're buying own brand bread, which is going to be significantly cheaper, we don't have own brand bakeries. Surely a lot of this stuff probably emanates from the same places as the branded stuff. But is there any own brand stuff you just generally avoid? Not, like, say, I don't know, pasta or a particular food type, or are you happy to consume all own brand stuff, Danny?
No, I've tried it all, really. No, I sort of give it a go, and that's what I'm saying, or advising the people, is give it a try, and if it applies, to your taste, if it's good to cook with and stuff like that, then sort of stick with it, and you do save yourself money. I wouldn't recommend just all your basket would be own brand. That what happens to me, Greg, is what I save on the home bread, I can then splash out on something else that I can't get as a home brand, you know, little treats.
That makes sense.
And I've also noticed, I said to Caroline there, I've noticed that when I used to go in and get my own brand bread, products like beans and stuff like that, I had no trouble getting it. But these last 6 months, it's been very difficult. I've been buying more expensive bread because the home brand cheaper bread is not there, honestly.
Ah, right, okay. That's interesting, because it's one thing having the will, but if it's not there...
Quite often, I was a long time waiting for home brand dog treats, like the dental chews for my dog, and they was forever out of stock. All the more expensive stuff was there, and I was buying it for... But you're talking of a difference between 75 cents and €2.
That's huge. What's your dog's name, Danny?
He's Caesar.
Caesar. And
everybody knows him around here, sort of in the Donegal, the area I'm living in there. Yeah, Caesar. He's 18 years old.
And he hasn't complained too much when you land back with own brand treats.
He used to, not so much complain. It's even with other products that he's a fussy dog also. If I put a tin of food out and he doesn't want it, he'll walk away from it.
So the conversation is you've no problem doing the home brand or own brand, but the bottom line is its availability now. You're noticing that an availability is not there.
I do. I think a lot more people are starting to not only use their eyes to look at labels, but you're looking at the pricing and they're comparing the prices. Because another thing, shops do loyalty cards, and vouchers, and I could never get a basket of food big enough to use the voucher. But now my expense, still shopping the same stuff, but due to the rise in price of everything, it's gone up. And now I can use them vouchers, but they're not available. I mean, you have to be spending over €50. Yeah. See, it's okay. I know it's okay for me, Greg, because I'm on my own here, myself and the dog. If you've got a family, you've got youngsters and that, it's difficult to get them. But I know it's anecdotal, but I've seen in other cases and things there where people are keeping the packaging of good brands, they call it that, and then decanting it from a box or a bottle to try and fool the children. And I think people, even the adults, are fooling themselves, because I would be the one that when it came to ketchup, it had to be the one brand. But now I use an own brand. I use unsalted, and I like.
Yeah, but you're right, though. There is another issue about branding, though, you see, and particularly with young people. If it's not a certain brand, I don't like that, but I can see the logic in decanting it into another bottle, because then they don't notice the difference. Just one final thing. I mean, is own brands products still really unsexy packaging? I mean, it's in the same packaging. It's about the design. I wonder why they don't sort of zhuzh it up a little bit.
It could be that, you see, because there's a shop that I particularly go to. They've got their own brand, and then they've got even they call a cheaper one again. Just call it basic, and that's very thing. But if I would also give that a try. But even if there was something in the tin, if it just had tomatoes on it and just said the word tomatoes, I would give it a try. But then if it doesn't suit me, I would be back to the stuff. I'm more particular about, I have to eat it. I don't like wasting nothing, Greg. And like that. And it's no good buying cheap stuff and just eat it because it's cheap.
No, of course. And I think you're balancing it there. There's a balancing act between, what's an acceptable quality for you, and if you can save a few bob, even if it's to treat yourself rather than to bank it, all well and good. No, I think it's a good approach. Thank you very much, Danny.
You're welcome, Greg.
And give
Bye-bye.
Caesar a treat for us as well.
I will do.
All right, take care. Bye. Okay, Heinz, Hellmann's mayonnaise and Heinz ketchup, they can never be replaced without notice. Yeah, Hellman's is... I can understand Hellman's. I don't know any difference between mayonnaises. The ketchup, certainly you can tell the difference between the various ketchups, but I don't know. Right, okay, we ran an Instagram poll on this issue just for the crack, and you can follow us on Highland Radio Donegal on Instagram to have your say. We asked, are generic brands just as good? In other words, your own brands. And the audience have responded. Absolutely, 33%. They just aren't the same, 8%, to a lovely balanced view. It depends on the product. And thanks to Donna Marie for helping out with that. The majority of you, actually just 8% of you that voted, feel that you wouldn't go near own brand stuff because they're simply just not the same. Right. Hi, talking about the price of hotels, me and my partner went to Portrush on Saturday night. Bed and breakfast, it was £260 just for one night, never again. We had to pay a lot of money to buy sterling. Wow, okay, that's up there, isn't it? I mean, that would have to be a good Saturday night, if the truth be told. Greg, I'm going to the Eagles concert, and hotels were up to €925 on Booking.com. It's just unreal. But I want to speak to or hear from you if you tried Booking.com and says, you know what, that's unacceptable, and then went and tried, say, for instance, to ring directly to see if you got any better value. I know that works because I've done it myself, but I want to hear from you guys out there too.
The 9 till noon show with the City of Derry Airport, Algarve and Majorca summer holidays from the City of Derry Airport. Free childcare places available for ages 2 to 11. Visit cityofderryairport.com.
The hilarious Three Hail Marys is coming to Letterkenny.
God, he was beautiful. Big, brown, watery eyes on him, like an Aberdeen Angus bullock.
See Three Hail Marys at Ungrainon Theatre Letterkenny for one night only, Friday, May 13th. See ongrainon.com or call 074 9120777.
The fishermen working the seas off Ireland bring us a real bounty every day. Like Irish crab meat, low in fat and brim full of protein, omega-3 and essential vitamins and minerals. For lunch or dinner, Irish crab meat is a delicious shellfish you can buy cooked and ready to go in your supermarket or fishmongers. For great recipes online, like crab pasta with cherry tomatoes and basil, visit boardbia.ie/crab and make everyday meals amazing.
Let BizPrint the Printers help with your business marketing and printing to get your 2022 vision off to the right start. BizPrint the Printers, Port Road, Letterkenny. Call 91777955 or see bizprint.ie.
Drivers, keep an eye out for the digital signs between Junction 4 Ballymun and Junction 9 Red Cow on the M50. The signs will be switched on to slow traffic in the event of a collision, roadworks, poor weather or congestion. Lowering your speed will help protect you, other road users, emergency responders and road workers. Respect the speed displayed and help keep the M50 safe. A message from Transport Infrastructure Ireland and the Road Safety Authority.
Are you worried about trees on your property? Northwest Forestry Services Ballybuffet are fully insured and have over 40 years experience in dangerous tree removal, tree felling, surgery and stump grinding. For peace of mind, call Northwest Forest Services Ballybuffet for a no obligation quotation on 913233.
Okay, we're joined on the programme now by Lillian C. Barr, SDLP Councillor and Director of Programmes with the North West Migrants Forum. Good morning to you, Lillian. How are you keeping?
Good morning.
It's great
It's
great to have you on the programme. Right, now, the North West Migrants Forum, on behalf of which you speak, are running a campaign called No Racist Border on Ireland's Island. Could you talk to us about the situation that pertains that really has triggered this campaign?
Yes, for many people, you would know that the common travel area is supposed to be free movement or afford free movement for everyone living on the island of Ireland. Unfortunately, that is actually not accurate. There are so many people within the island of Ireland who cannot freely move on the island. And those are people from minority ethnic communities, particularly who are called non-UK, non-Irish citizens, and they are commonly called non-CTA nationals. And many of them would be people who are permanent residents of both sides of the island. they live here lawfully and they may be spouses of citizens, but are not afforded that opportunity or that freedom to move without applying for visas.
Now, I'm not trying to be controversial or here, but just to ask a question. Obviously, the word racist is an really, really important word. Now, is this actually a racist border? I mean, I just wonder, would the same rules apply in white, non-Irish or non-UK national countries, if that makes sense? Do you think using the word racist in this is accurate? Obviously you do, but I just want you to explain it a little bit for me.
It is very accurate, because if you're traveling through the border, and we have a lot of evidence to prove that the only people who are going to be stopped are people who look different.
Now that there we get to the nuts of it. Okay, so people would say, but sure, if you're living in Letterkenny and you want to go to Derry, no one's going to stop you. But you're saying there is a level of enforcement. Can you give us sort of a typical experience? It doesn't have to be between the two areas I've mentioned, but what can happen to people?
I'm sure a lot of people may have read on the newspapers where Black people are stopped and asked to produce their identity cards on the bus when they are traveling, and many have witnessed that who are traveling on the bus. When the Garda, for example, would stop a bus, they will only profile the Black or brown person to ask to produce their documents, not because there is any evidence of any criminal offense that has been made, but just because there's an assumption you have no right to cross the border. And this not only affects non-UK citizens, it impacts on somebody like me who is a citizen on the island. Was what is the description of an Irish person, and how does Garda know that I'm not Irish?
And the truth is I will never I'll never be challenged and have to prove that, but you probably will and have. And that's
exactly. I have. Many of us have. I think you will find a lot of Black people who have traveled across the island who have had the same experience, and many people would even avoid traveling across the border because of the unnecessary stress that they have to go through.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about this conversation, Lillian, is that there will be a lot of people hearing of this for the first time. Obviously not those that are affected by it, but people who, they'll be going, what? That actually happens on the island of Ireland, that people are, profiled or stopped from moving freely north and south and vice versa. I think this campaign, obviously it's to garner support, but I think it's actually, people are going to be going, we did not know that was happening at all.
You're very right. Every single person I've spoken to who lives in Derry or Donegal have never, ever thought that people would be stopped. They actually think it is ridiculous to start with. And I think this is the key point. The public are not aware. And these are immigration rules that are created by policymakers in back rooms and are not publicized for the public, because they know there will be an outrage. I'll give an example. The Irish government has been very generous to Ukrainian citizens. They have opened the borders for them. None of them have to apply for a visa to come. And we know that there are so many of them who now live in Buncrana or Letterkenny because they are non-UK citizens or non-British, Irish citizens. They are subject to immigration rule. What will happen to them if they cross to the border and come to the north? Will they be stopped, or vice versa? Those who are coming to Derry because they are also non-European citizens. So this is an issue that the public needs to know, but the government needs to take action to ensure that every single citizen who lives on the island of Ireland can be freely moving there, because it's another way of building that sense of belonging.
And if Britain and Northern Ireland, the UK is a collective, and you've heard it from some politicians talking about Ireland being a backdoor into Britain, if that is a concern you have, well then you police that at the border in Belfast.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, it's not. I mean, if that is the motivation, it's very easy to do it in a less intrusive and also, you know, really specific manner.
And the reality is, this is actually in the gift of the Irish government, because the issue of the non-European citizens coming to Ireland is specifically an Irish government immigration rule. It does not require the British government. It does not require the European government. It is the immigration office in Ireland that is enforcing it. So it is in the Irish government's gift and the Irish people to push it, because what the many that we have met and spoken to do not want it to exist on the island of Ireland.
Are you more likely to be stopped if you live in the Republic and are travelling into North versus living in the North and travelling into the Republic? Are you more likely to see enforcement depending on your direction of travel?
Mostly those who are stopped are those actually travelling to the Republic of Ireland, because the UK borders control would only come into force when they suspect there are people coming to the north. And they will not interfere with the Irish immigration rules. So they will not cross the border to stop people from the Irish side, if you like. So this is specifically enforced by the Irish government. But with the new Nationality and Borders Bill, we risk having a hard border for non-EU, non-UK citizens, which the British government will try to enforce. But this is the point that I would like to make again. The British government will not enforce immigration rules in Ireland. It is the Irish government that will be expected to enforce that immigration rule.
All right. And unfortunately, we find ourselves in a position that this has to be fought through a petition, really. You would imagine that this would be quite a large conversation on a national scale within politics, that it wouldn't require a grassroots sort of campaign. So talk to us about the petition.
So we have, the Northwest Migrants Forum has launched a petition, and this is seeking support from the public. And you can find the petition on the website. We have key issues that we have highlighted through the petition, but we have also provided remedies for this particular immigration rule. We are asking the Irish government to extend the rights for freedom of movement for every lawful citizen or resident who live on the island of Ireland, particularly those who live in the north, because it is within their own gift to do that. We are also asking a pathway for citizenship for those people who have come to make Northern Ireland their home, but would wish to become Irish rather than British because they're married to Irish citizens. There is no pathway unless you are married to an Irish citizen. So if you are a South African couple, husband and wife, both from South Africa, and you have lived in Derry for 25 years, you will never be citizens of Ireland, and that could be what you prefer than being a British citizen. So it's very simple remedies that the Irish government can show that political will to extend that. And for example, or in particular now that they are all talking about a shared island.
Yeah, and we do know that because this can be done with a stroke of a pen, we know the rules that were able to be changed very rapidly to allow Ukrainian people from outside Europe effectively to move here, to be able to claim benefits and to be able to work. So if the will is there, we know the way is there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It is something that the Irish government can decide to do it today if they wanted to.
Yeah, precisely. Lillian, lovely to speak to you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. And I hope your listeners can sign our petition. They can find it on our website at the www.nwmf.org.uk.
Have a lovely day, Lillian. Thank you very much indeed. That's Lillian Sinoy-Barr there, who's Director of Programmes with the Northwest Migrants Forum. Okay. Did you realise that was the case? Our politicians need to be more like Hungary in their attitudes towards EU. Ireland are lapdogs to EU and the UN. Are we? Okay. Financially better off. Did the guy on just before not say we were 14 trillion in debt off fishing depleted massive Irish factory boats scraping our oceans and our farmers tied to rules and regulations? If war started, would we be even able to fend ourselves or feed ourselves? Politicians who aim to please Europe rather than our own people, signing us up for treaties without consulting, big jobs for the big boys. Are we really better off? Sometimes I doubt it, but listen, 88% of people believe we are. So that seems to be the will of the opinion of the nation. A caller says it is not only Ireland that is in debt and paying back interest. Many other countries are in the same position once again, with Ireland not able to take its responsibility but relying on other countries for our defence. But look, we're seen as a rich country because we can afford to borrow and pay it back at the rates that are currently being charged. You know, every country's indebted, as that texter says. I think it's only, 10 years ago that Britain paid off the loan it borrowed from America during one of the world wars. So long-term debt leveraged on generations is not unusual. And I'm not really sure, does it really matter on a day-to-day basis? Obviously it does, but you know, they keep saying we're rich, yet we're heavily indebted. I don't know. This caller says the reason those checks are taking place, it's to stop people sneaking into the Republic via Northern Ireland without getting checked. Hi, Greg. So 240 schools are talking up the EU today, according to Minister McConnell. This might be rightly called the EU brainwashing of our little children in any other situation. Donegal needs to declare its independence from the EU. That's... I agree. I don't know about independence from the EU. I do agree that, though, if we... I think it's very important that children get a balanced view on things, that we don't have a preloaded argument in terms of stuff. Maybe does that apply to a conversation about the EU? I don't know. If we're going into schools on a broad scale saying it's great, I'm not sure that helps our children with their thought processes and decision making. But anyway, I would love to know how Charlie McConnell know we're in a far better position within the EU than out of it. Has he seen alternative outcomes? No. Sinn Féin are waiting in the wings to fix this country's problems, believe this texter. Another, hi Greg. The fish inspectors say Derry is not part of Ireland. As it relates to the landing. Greg, please ask Charlie McConnell why our fishing industry is to pay for the prosperity of others in our country. It seems to be the weakest in society are targeted first to carry the can. Same for the environment issues. But every time we talk about the quotas, the standard answer is that, you know, these will be renegotiated. It's the best deal we can get, and we're going to try and get a better deal. And you know yourself, the stuff we hear. Kevin says, Greg, it's all about the brand. So I have an empty box of Barry's tea. Other brands are available. And just for the crack, I put in Aldi and little tea bags in, and no one has copped on. Back then, it's like shopping with an M&S bag full of Aldi and Lidl bag inside, similar to 40 Shades book with a Reader's Digest front cover. Got the idea from Channel 4 Super Shoppers. Comparison was a blind test of Tesco water to Evian. Tesco came out on top, but own brand is the norm now. Yeah, I just think we'll transition very quickly to where we can save some money. The fact that we have to hide it in other packaging says an awful lot about us, I think. But sure, even with those wine testing, I remember there's one lady, she was really quite famous for testing wines, and she was putting it in her mouth and swirling it around and describing it and spitting it out. And then she was on another program about 3 months later, and they gave her the exact same wines to test, and her description and her opinion of the wines was completely different compared to the first time around. Oh, but there you go. All right, more from the phone lines after this quick break.
The 9 till noon show with City of Derry Airport. Pre-book your airport parking, fast track and lounge access at cityofderryairport.com for a stress-free start to your trip.
Hi folks, Paul McDevitt here, inviting you to join us this Monday night for another edition of the Monday Night Sessions. On the show this week, we welcome live in studio Strabane singer-songwriter Adam Dole, and we'll also be joined by Letterkenny singer-songwriter Boy M5. We've also got loads of great new Irish music as always, so it's the Monday Night Sessions this Monday night between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. right here on Highland Radio.
The Northwest Independent Clinic is now Kingsbridge Private Hospital. Yes, we have arrived in Ballykelly, and if you need treatment or surgery, there is no need to wait. At Kingsbridge Private Hospital Northwest, you will have access to over 300 consultants and hundreds of treatments and services. We are approved by all major insurance companies and self-pay options are available. In fact, treatment could cost less than you think. And with guaranteed 5-star care from treatment right through to your personalised recovery plan, we will be with you every step of the way. So why wait? Visit kingsbridgeprivatehospital.com today.
Ellen, write what you want to be when you grow up on the blackboard.
Ellen, remember to sign up for the swim team.
Ellen, all competitors must register today.
Alan King has written a name into the history books by winning gold for Ireland!
Nothing is written until you write it.
Ellen, can I have your autograph?
You write it, we underwrite it. Allianz, proudly supporting Paralympics Ireland since 2010.
Is your car due a service? For the month of May, get your car serviced at iMotors Letterkenny and avail of a free vehicle health check and a free oil change. For more details, check out our website or Facebook. Call us today on 074 913 4567 to book in.
Terms and conditions apply.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Gatwick's back. You can now fly daily to London Gatwick with Aer Lingus, the perfect gateway to explore South London. Ireland West Airport. You're flying.
Blustery day with rain pushing eastwards this afternoon, followed by showers and some sunny spells. The showers may be heavy at times, but they will clear away later in the evening. Temperatures of 13 to 16 degrees. Kevin, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg.
Nice to speak with you. Right, Kevin, you would have been, you've got a good background on this topic because you would have holidayed at home, staycationed, whatever the phrase might be, and you would have done it before the pandemic. Then you would have seen sort of the boom in the staycationing market, and now we're sort of maybe in the aftermath of that. What is your view in it all, Kevin?
Well, before this word staycation came out, I've probably been holiday in Ireland for the last 15 years, right? Caravan, camper van, caravan. And staycation came along because of the pandemic. Now, us Irish have a habit of when they see something that is bringing a bit of business to it, what we do is we just go mad and rob the people blind.
Mm.
And that's what's actually happening. Staycation has been a way in to rob the people blind on something that was always there.
How big are the differences, Kevin?
Well, and since the pandemic, my fees have gone up 400
a year.
400 in the 2 years.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I get you.
Right, and even at that, like, I mean, don't forget we didn't have a full season last season or the season before.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Is there any argument? I don't know if power is separate. Is there any argument that the cost of services has gone up and that has to be passed on to the likes of yourself, Kevin, or is there?
Yeah, but that's only recently, Greg.
Yeah, okay.
The cost of service
Understood.
has gone up. Like, I'm talking like, even if you go into the guide, the caravan touring guide, sites all over the country have put up their prices 25, 35, 40%. And what they're depending on is this thing, staycation. The people that have stayed on this staycation for the past 2 years are selling their caravans and can't wait to get away to the sun.
Yeah.
That's either something that you love or you hate. And
that's right. It's an interesting point you made, because obviously you couldn't get a camper van or a caravan during lockdown because people bought them up. You feel you feel that they're going to exit the market again, and the likes of yourselves who are loyal staycationers, and I know everyone doesn't like that phrase, are left with the expense, and it's going to take the industry a while to realise that the market they think is there is no longer there.
Well, I'll put it to you this way, and I did put it to the site manager that next year there'll be a lot of empty spaces.
Mm.
And that people that have been driven away because of the prices, caravanners, mobile homers, are not going to come back because of the prices.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, there's a certain amount of has to go on for the increase on your electricity and your water. We know that, but that was always done like a €50 a year kind of thing, But this pre-booking now as well, that you pre-book and you have to pay up front before you get there.
That's a new thing, is it?
That's totally new on some of the sites.
Mm-hmm.
Other sites, yes, definitely. But there are sites that you didn't have to book. Now them sites you're having to book. So there's going to be an awful lot of empty spaces. And I mean, if you look in Donegal or anywhere else, all you can see is caravans, trailers, trailer tents, everything for sale. Tents that have only used this last 2 years.
Yeah.
Big tents that are costing over 12, 14, 1,500 euro.
Be very interesting to see how it plays out as we head into the summer months. We're not at the stage yet, though, where it would sicken you to the point to say, well, stuff it, you've ruined what I like about holidaying at home. I'm going to try something else.
I'll put it this way, I'm giving it this season.
Right. Interesting. Yeah.
But to holiday abroad is kind of not something for us, like. But if you think on it, Craig, like people that are caravanners and mobile homers and tenters don't really care about the weather, right?
Yes.
But because people couldn't get away to the sun, they said, right, we're going to go here. So the greedy people of Ireland who own these campsites and what have you, the same as the hoteliers, have said, right, we have these vacationers now. Look what happened. When we were down, they brought us up. They're going to stay there. They're not going to stay there.
But
they're going to sail up and go back to the sun.
All right, Kevin, listen, I have to...
rain.
Yeah. Okay, I get you, Kevin. Listen, good points well made. Thank you very much indeed. That's where we have to leave it on the show. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Stay tuned. John Bresson's coming up around the northwest after 12 o'clock, and then Kevin is in for David on Jive Time. Have a great day.
The 9 till noon show with the City